to that. And yes, Kim, I hit the record button like about 3 to 5 minutes ago. So yeah, I did. I totally forgot that. Right. So right. So okay. So this is our pamphlet, Amy, and pretty much one of the reasons why we know that it's not going to show up the way how we want it to is because we need to actually upload what is known as a book preview or a look inside. And the way how you do this is using this. We're going to talk about that today because you're going to use this. This is going to be extremely important, right? Because you're then going to be able to upload your PDF and upload your cover, and this is going to be for all of the books that you do which are like reflexology, whether it's a pamphlet and or otherwise, right? Because that helps to sell the book. That is one of the things that help to sell the book. A book that does not have a look inside feature, very, very difficult for it to sell, right? With no massive reviews, very, very difficult for it to sell. So that's something that you want to also focus in on. But by doing this, you can submit that pamphlet directly to us as is designed in your Speedy Publishing account. All you do is go ahead and follow the process much like a print book because you're going to have the cover and you're going to have whatever it is that you need to have. When you're creating those pamphlets, just go ahead and let us know what the ISBN is. If it's too difficult, we can apply the ISBN. So that's not a problem. So we do have the ability to be able to take that particular cover and apply the ISBN to it in the right spot, right? So that's not hard for us to do, right? And we'll apply the ISBN to that particular print. You'll see it appear here in very short order. And then what you're going to do is that you're going to head into your Amazon Services vendor tools, and then you're going to go in and you're going to just go ahead and upload the back end of your information. And we allow you to do it because if we're going to try and do it on a Speedy Publishing side, it's going to be too time consuming and it will result in delays. So if you have the ability to acquire one of these accounts, you want to do that. And you want to go ahead and put it out there. Now, if you, of course, have your own Lightning Source account, you can do this on your own too. You don't have to use Speedy Publishing. But just so you know, if you're not going to pay for the setup and design through LSI, you're going to have to pay for the catalog listing at the same time. And so there are different cases that can occur or things that can occur where that happens. So you want to make sure that you focus in on that. Okay. So I think Team Leader 2, so we're going to cover pamphlets. Right, so pamphlets, as I said before, they're going to be designed by your people very, very easily, and you can just upload them to our account, right? Okay, and we're going to cover that in a little bit more detail today by looking on this company as well. Okay, so basically, let's kind of kick this off, and what we wanted to do is to get started with something that Enat had sent us, and I see Cedric is online. Cedric, awesome. Good work. Good work. Good work. Good work. Okay. Right. Okay. Let me cover the questions, guys, before I dive in. And let me cover the questions first because I see a lot of questions. Okay. So Ina is asking here. I have a question about ACX.com, ACX account. Since I don't have a U.S. address, I can't join ACX. They even mentioned that in one of their Q&As. I don't have a U.S. address and I don't have a U.S. tax ID. Can I still join ACX? No, ACX is open only to residents in the United States who have a U.S. mailing address, a valid U.S. tax identification number, and have or can submit a Form W-9. We hope to become wired, blah, blah, blah. This here is not specifically the case because they're saying that you are only, if you're a U.S. entity, then you're allowed to have that particular type of account, which is why we go to a company known as DelawareCompany.com or the Delaware Company. And we've had a working relationship with the DelawareCompany.com for a very long time. Right? And the cost of acquiring a company from the Delaware Company is $2.99, right? But you don't even have to do this. That's the whole point. You don't even have to do this. Here's what most people who I know who wanted to have this set up. They picked up the phone and they call the IRS, right? So they said, IRS, apply for EIN over the phone. And they applied for an EIN over the phone, right? And when they applied for that EIN over the phone, they got that EIN. They explained to the tax, to the IRS what exactly it is that they were doing, and that they wanted to file their taxes in the United States, right? Now, when you have that EIN, you can submit something that pretty much can change your address in terms of your mailing address in the United States. And then, when you have at least that address in your listing, you go to somewhere like DE Mailbox. I think that's the company that we used initially. Right, and then you go to Delaware Mailboxes, and then you obtain a mailbox that provides you with that opportunity to send anything that would hit you, and that's the key. And once you have that address, then you can sign up for that particular service. And ACX.com is very, very easy to work with. If I was to go to my ACX.com account right now, it's literally a zoo. Literally, I mean, literally, it is a zoo in our ACX.com account. It's just like so many auditions, so many people coming in, so many people want to do stuff. Lots and lots of these are reprints. Lots of these are not reprints. As we said before, we want to make sure that we get as much as we can possibly work with. As you can see, a lot of offers gone out and a lot of things coming in. So all of these here, at the end of the day, we're just focusing on this, right? And we started a new company, which is a brand new one. We started at the beginning of January. So this is something that we have switched over from our regular, which I think was under Blue Shift Publishing, which we were publishing most of our stuff. And just to make sure that we consolidated everything as of January 1, 2014, everything is being migrated into this account, right? Just for those tax purposes. So it's not very hard, but if it's a case where you do want to, if you think that there is a problem, there are different ways to get around it. Casey is a master at that. Casey has done that very, very well. So maybe Casey, you can outline, your method that you used on the Facebook page to kind of help anyone who might have fallen into that trap. But this is the basic process, though, very, very simple, very, very easy, and very, very straightforward. Okay. Will Speedy Publishing be adding a way to upload large print books to the dashboard? Okay, yes and no. You can actually upload the large print in the system right now. All you've got to do is just indicate that it is a large print. Just indicate it that it is a large print by when you select digital distribution, the physical distribution only. If you put large print there, our system does read that. So we have like things that have enhanced edition. If you upload that, we have the new change for that along with the apps, Elizabeth. So if you want to hold off, you can hold off for probably another couple of days, and then you'll see that implemented. Otherwise, when you're submitting your large print, just go ahead and indicate that it is a large print. It will be selected as large print when it's going out to the distribution channels. There are different ways to do that. We could include it inside the listing in terms of the trim size, because there are some differences in terms of the trim size for large print. And we know exactly what those are, so we would select those on distribution. But you can put it in the title, and you can indicate that it's large print. And we'll go ahead and make sure that we push it out as a large print. Okay, I run a question regarding that issue. If I publish, Enan is asking if I publish independently through CreateSpace, but I also want to use Speedy Publishing Co. for distribution to other platforms, do I have to unselect the channel of Amazon.com and Amazon Europe? Yes, you should. Since the paperback version would be distributed to Amazon through LSI, right, what is the proper order for the distribution? First, it should go on Speedy Publishing Co., and after I get the ISBN, should I publish on? Exactly. That's the typical way that you want to go with. Because if you have the ISBN, unless you have your another ISBN, because it's never ever a problem to have two ISBNs for one title, right? It's bad to have one ISBN for two titles. Because if I had a republication of the same title, so I had Green Mile published in 1978, and I had Green Mile published in 2013, two different titles, two very, very same titles. One is obviously a reprint, possibly an improvement on the other one. So same titles, but two different ISBNs, right? So that's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. And you think about it, there are millions and millions of books with the same exact title that they're different ISBNs. So that's absolutely fine. The point here is that would it be an issue if it will be an issue if you have one ISBN and that ISBN represents Green Mile and then the other ISBN represents the Blue Mile. Because then that one ISBN would hit one specific retailer and it would cause what is known as a metadata choke. So the retailer would say, okay, who do I put here? And you know what? I'm just not going to put anybody. And they're just going to choke the ISBN. All the data is just not going to appear, right? And that can cause a major issue. So you don't want to use a single ISBN for that. So the key here is, is to really ensure that it would be smarter to get the ISBN from us. And as a mastermind member, I mean, you're already a part of the commitment, so you can always go ahead and email Cheryl to have that ISBN provided, and we can provide you with an ISBN to begin with, and then you can go ahead and carry out what you're carrying on or do whatever it is that you need to do. Or, I mean, as long as you're going to publish through Speedy Publishing, you can go ahead and just request an ISBN, and we'll go ahead and give that to you. Okay, so first, so that is correct. That is the thing there. Do I need a separate ISBN for large prints and enhanced books for the same book? Yes, you do. So it's another format. Always with formats, you need an ISBN for every format. If we publish with SpeedyPub, you're taking half, right? We addressed that, Lido. We only take 15%. I've always used my business name. Perfect, Lewis. A dog coloring app. Wow, Lida is asking a dog coloring app. Would, so anything can be made to an app? Yes, that is the case. In terms of more functionality with the coloring apps for Andromo, here's the thing that Colin spoke to me about. Now, Andromo is, I would probably say, one of the best places that you can go to also learn more about making apps and app creation and stuff like that, right? So they'll talk to you a lot about what's going on in terms of how to really profit from using it, right? So you can scroll down and there's a lot of posts, as you can see here. And a lot of them will help you kind of understand, what to do, how to work. So here's an example. Andromo serves up custom Android apps for restaurant, cafes, and bistros, right? AC Syndicate, don't know how to code, want to make your own app, Andromo. Whole lot of stuff here. Black Book Magazine, Andromo, best new Android apps. Black Book, blah, blah, blah. So there's a whole lot of stuff here that you can find that can help you determine how to best use Andromo. And so in terms of like games or anything that you can do with it, then there are different ways that you're going to be able to benefit. Remember, as part of your mastermind package, you get what are known as app. I'll give you an example of what we have, like app icons. I think we could have that there. Right. Ooh, okay. App icons. I'll go to app icons. Let's go app icons. Okie dokie. Let me go ahead and app icons. Maybe I can open this up. Right. So if I was to look on this, if I can probably get, well, it's still not going to give me those. I'll just extract it. I extract it again. Yes, 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 yes. I'll say skip, 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 skip. Right. So basically, these are some of the app icons that are 128 by 128. All of these you're going to be provided with. So you'll see different app icons for like call us, a PDF, photo gallery, chapter, audio, email. You're going to be provided with a number of these. So when you're creating your app, you kind of have a standard look and feel. But there are things like your background that you're going to have to either use, and you're going to use something really cool to do that because now you know how to fade, um, or your team knows how to fade images, or your VA knows how to fade images. They're going to be able to fade an image of that particular book, and they're going to be able to use that image to upload as the background for your app. So giving it a little bit better in terms of a look and feel. And then when you're actually adding the content, you can use Manimo to create the images for your existing application. And there are other places that you can do when you're doing app testing that will look very, very sharp, that you can actually get as, you know, a picture to use during the upload process, which kind of gives you an example. Or you can create your own random pictures at the end of the day. So that's pretty much one of the things that that really and truly makes sense. Okay, so that should kind of say help with that question in terms of what we can do with the Andromo app. So just go to blog.andromo. When you get the chance, again, remember that this is all based on what it is that you want to make sure that you do in terms of how you're spending the time. Okay, coloring app, can you use PLR, template PLR for pamphlets, zero content books? Yes, you can. The problem here is that you've got to remember that if you're doing a zero content book, a lot of people might be able to upload their zero content books directly to their own CreateSpace account. If you're doing anything that has to do with PLR content, don't do it. There is a way to get around it. I said to you before. If you know about optical character recognition, or OCR, OCR basically is the ability for software to be able to scan content and to tell exactly what it is saying. So you scan a page, and then you can scan it into Microsoft Word, right? So now it becomes a bag of words, literally, quote unquote. The case here is that there are ways that you can place content on an image that it becomes unscannable by OCR, right? That means that when that image is placed in places like CreateSpace, then CreateSpace can't recognize that it's PLR and then suspend the distribution of it, which is their modus operandi. No, which I think is foolish, but it's what they do. So in any event, if that is what is going to happen, then we have to basically be very, very careful about using PLR in zero content books. For pamphlets, absolutely fine, right? But pamphlets, you have to remember, are things that are created mainly in shorthand, kind of. You're not going to create something that's going to be full details. So like, let's say accounting terms, right? So what are the top accounting terms by definition? You find the top accounting terms and you populate that from A to Z, right? Or you can do it from A to J, and then you can do from J to K or J to wherever, and you can do it based on that. So you can do several ones like that, accounting terms, finance terms, all these different things. And we're going to talk about how you're going to be able to choose those particular pamphlets. Okay, lots of questions. Okay, yeah, Kim, we are. Okay, Max is asking, when do we sign individual contracts with VAs, which is currently with Speedy Publishing with 3 months probation? Okay, so we keep on everybody, Max. We're not going to fire anyone just now. I still believe that every person who has been able to stick it out this far has really, really great potential, right? So if the person is not the right fit, and we talked about this from day one, the person has to be the right fit with you. If the person is not the right fit with you, then it can result in complications, right? We're all good people here, but at the end of the day, we still have a business to run. So we need to make sure that we're profitable at the end of the day. if that person is not going to be able to meet your needs, then it's important that, we move that person somewhere else. But it doesn't mean that that person does not have the required skill set, no, that they can work with our business. There are cases where an individual might not be good enough to carry out specific tasks, but we can employ that person in another capacity with possibly an increase or a decrease in their salary to carry out other tasks. So I don't want to waste the skill set. If the skill set is there, that really is time value money kind of thing. That person can provide me 30 minutes or 40 minutes per day. It's really valuable because it's skilled labor. And though I would have trained that labor or trained that person, it's skilled labor. And I can acquire it at a particular rate. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to try and keep on doing that because I can produce something that is going to be saleable or can be sold. Awesome. Okay. So, right, I think I went through those, large print, special input page in Title Manager. Right, Casey, not just yet. It's not really going to be a special input page. What is going to happen is that you're going to be able to check a box below that will say, do you have a large print? When you check it, then it's going to drop down with another section that allows you to upload the information. What we're trying to do is that as we streamline, there's a school of thought that we should try and separate every single thing. So if it's a digital book, it's a digital book. If it's a print book, it's a print book, and that we count those as titles, right? What that would basically mean is that everyone would get to 100 titles in a matter of minutes, because even it would be one ISBN attached to every single book, and that would be considered a title. So if you got to 100 of those, then guess what? You've got to go enterprise, and that's like, $5.99 or $6.99 per year or $4. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. I just can't be price gouging people like that. That's not cool. So we just said we're working off of the title, and the different formats can remain under one particular section. So it's 100 titles and not really 100 different formats that we are going to use, even if you had 100 formats for one title. So it will just be a checkbox right on the same form that you basically have. Okay, so are you considering creating a training for a VA or would work in social networks for a few hours a week? Not really. Not really. Ina is asking that if we're going to train people to kind of do that type of marketing. Ina, we don't do that type of marketing anymore. Because when I say we don't do that, don't get me wrong. Because we already have our imprints that we drive traffic to. And we already have people who are a part of that. And when we post, those people come back and they look on those particular books, and it provides our authors with the opportunity to go ahead and do that. But here's what we've realized in kind of going over stuff like that. A much bigger marketing approach is always needed. It cannot be as that. Such a simplified approach cannot work. You can't hit 5,000 people and then say, okay, well, I expect to sell 50,000 copies. Because that's really what you're doing. Unless you're going to spend, $1,000 or $2,000 or $20,000 is when you're going to be able to hit a vast number of people, 50, 60,000 people. And you hit 50, 60,000 people at the end of the day, how do we know that that's going to, how is that going to translate into sales? Are these people buyers? Are these people individuals who want to purchase our books? Here's my concept. Places like Magsto that have 17 million readers, I give my right arm to get inside that platform because it's 17 million readers. I try and learn how I can reach out and get in front of those readers, because it's important. Because they themselves are already readers. How we profit with a place like Goodreads, it's all readers right there, right? So in terms of Goodreads, it's as simple as putting up an ad Are people seeing results in terms of sales from those ads? Not necessarily. But one of the things that if people fail to realize, and I know a lot of people are not seeing this, where do you think that a company like BookBub gets their people from, right? If you go to Goodreads.com and you look for, and I think I should be logged in automatically, but it's not logging me in automatically. Let's go Facebook. Let's try. Let me go Facebook. Well, maybe I can just sign in. It's not giving me the option to sign in. Oh, there you go. Oh. There you go. Let's see. Oh, yeah. 3, 2. There you go. What are they saying? Oh. Okay, so I'm not able to sign in. However, the point is that if I click on here, right? If I click on, and I'm looking on, these are all sponsored ads by Goodreads. But what are you seeing here from BookBub? It's an ad from BookBub that says bookbub.com best-selling free ebooks. This is where BookBub is getting their traffic. Do we see this here? Free ebooks every day. BookBub. BookBub lives on Goodreads. That's where BookBub got the majority of their traffic. They spent basically like $30,000, $40,000 with Goodreads over a particular period of time. Using that method, they were able to amass the amount of people that they got into their Facebook page and into their sign-up pages, right? That's where they leverage all these people from. Now, if you go to BookBub, the website itself, and we're going to kind of revisit that, right? These guys here, this is BookBub here, as you can see, 1.24 million likes, 33,739 people talking about this, right? They post on a regular basis. Here we go with 8 hours ago. They've pinned this. Never miss a free book. 8 hours ago. 8 free books from BookBub today, including The Supermodel Best Friend by Gretchen Galloway, whoever. And what they basically do, as you can see here, are you missing sign up? No. I think this is actually the section that you can sign up for BookBub, right? EPUB deals. And you can see what they're doing, right? So they kind of use this layout here, and then they post on a daily basis, right, to people. And this is what they do, 28th, 29th. As you can see here, 517 shares, right? Top comments, 1,045 other people like it. Lots and lots of people. 1,400 likes, lots and lots of people, right? So you have all of this here, and the way how it's set up is that they got the majority of these people from Goodreads. So they literally ate the traffic from Goodreads, and then what they basically do now is that they decide to push the books out. So they'll go ahead and say, all right, let me see if I can actually sign in here. I should be able to sign in. I'm almost sure. I changed my password. There you go. Excellent. So typically, it makes sense to spend the money to go to BookBub and go to Riffle, right? Because that one book sale can probably be the catalyst for other sales, right? So let's take a look on maybe, let me try and find something that might be really cool that we might be creating content for. Let's try cooking. A lot of us do a lot of stuff that isn't based on the cooking niche, right? So here's some cooking previous deals. Here's Green Smoothie Joy, right? And these guys are big on cover design. Cover really has to stand out. So we know that, and you've got to be in several places. We're fighting with them right now to take on a couple of our books. just because the books are not, don't have the proper length, and they're just being very, very difficult about it. So as you can see, this book is 208 pages. I don't even like this cover, but it's what they have. And let's basically kind of see exactly how the book is doing. So it's 9,000 in the Kindle store, right? Its offer fell off. It only got 12 reviews. Let's see if there was any boost in its paperback sales, right? So it's 121,000 in paperback sales, which is not very, very, very attractive, having spent a bit of money on this, right? But what we need to look on is the Kindle price. So the Kindle price is at $8.47, and it's doing 9,087 in the paid Kindle store, right? That's not very bad, in my opinion, right? So if we wanted to look on and see exactly where they were before, I'll go ahead and hit the back button here one more time, right? And this probably came out of the deal No More probably like a day or so ago, right? So it's the previous cooking deals. So you can look on the existing cooking deals and see what they have. So a lot of these books here that end up going out like that end up really, really, really selling a lot. Like here, any one of these, you want to make sure that you have. Some of them are basically here on Amazon. No, to bring it back down to just the bottom line, the cost, right? Let's go minimum requirements here. We want to see pricing. If we're looking on cooking, for instance, this is going to 370,000 people. The price of that book beforehand, whenever it was going on sale, would have been probably maybe, let's say it would have been $1.99. You're talking about the cost to do that is it's $570. You're going to make this $570 back in the blink of an eye, right? So that's quite easy. If this book is doing really well, and it's really, really a solid book where you start getting a lot of reviews and people start noticing you, all of the people who are buying your book are already on Goodreads. You're going to have a big push on Goodreads itself. So what we're trying to do is that we're trying not to basically kind of focus in on just a social network like that, but focus in on where we can find the traffic. Because BookBub got to where they are by focusing on where they could find the traffic of readers. And they found the traffic and still are finding the traffic of readers on Goodreads. Our ads that are on Goodreads are tailored in exactly this fashion. And that's basically what we're doing. But we're not trying to force anyone to move from here into Facebook, because we don't have a list building kind of thing where we're offering free ebooks. In the early days of BookBub, people were always on the free side. So they wanted to sign up to see where they were getting free stuff and free information and free ebooks. That's all well and good, right? But we know that at the end of the day, there are different ways to find people like that, right? And so you really amass all of those people in one place, and then you start mailing to them. That's our approach for I Just Read It and Quick Words. That's really what I Just Read It as our app basically does and focuses in on. So if I was to look for BookBub here, I want to see what BookBub has been doing from that top level down, right? And so you kind of realize that there's so much more to consider, in terms of what's going on. So if you look on BookBub from August 2013 all the way here, all the way up here to December 2013, they're spending cash money on ads. And they start out with a few ads, start out with ads traffic, search engine traffic, whatever the case is. You see that going up over a period of time. Now, at this day, they have 209 AdSense ads, right? Let's see what they're doing here. We're looking for basic trends, I think, for this particular section here. So I want to go ahead and find BookBub, bookbub.com. I want to find the organic research. Let's go on the overview. we can find the ads keywords. Here we go. And what we're looking on here, guys, are the ads keywords that they're targeting. Free is the order of the day for these people. Or downloadable books. So you can see all the keywords. Let's see how many keywords they're targeting. 3,500 keywords. They're spending $9,000 a month. And they're targeting 3,500 keywords, right? And all they're doing is that they're finding those keywords and blasting them out there. Anything that's free, anything that's that. And what they're doing is that they're driving the people there and then getting them into the mailing list. So it's really a mailing list build that they're focusing in on, right? And the key thing here is it's exactly the same thing that we are doing, but on the back end of it, where BookBub charges, people to put out their books, including publishing companies, right? We do it on the back end in terms of we are the publishing company, so our earning comes from the actual sale of the book. So it makes better sense for us to do it in that manner, which is why we have that typical mass marketing approach. It can't be just the little side, if you kind of get what I'm saying. So that would kind of tell you that it's not, you wouldn't need someone to basically do that for you. Because in order to see massive sales, you want to be with or in that situation to be able to take advantage of that. Okay. Awesome. Okay, are you considering creating that? So do we do that? Large print is physical distribution, right? Casey said that. Will you send a replay of the InDesign webinar? Yeah, we did that. The problem with that was that it was having a real issue in converting with the GoToWebinar codec, but we were able to figure that out. And it should be up tonight or first thing in the morning. I think a lot of people have the Chinese New Year. So for the most part, tomorrow's month end, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in terms of payouts and all that kind of stuff for books and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, tomorrow's a very, very busy day, but it will be going out between tonight and tomorrow morning. Okay. Should our VA publish our content on different platforms, Amazon? Cedric, it depends. Because here's the thing. Cedric is asking, should we have the VA publish? We don't. It depends on you. And I'm very, very, very skeptical about this. I will tell you exactly what I use more than anything else so that everyone knows. This is my trusty tool. And the trusty tool is, of course, called TeamViewer, right? So there, at any point in time, if I need to access, anything, that whether it was Google AdSense or it's anything else, there are different remote locations that I would have. And the staff members who are there, who are working on that particular computer, they have the objective, their system of TeamViewer available. I can pick up the phone, I can call them, and I can say, okay, well, listen, turn on the TeamViewer. Let me go ahead and get, something done. At that point in time, I can upload at any way or form from that remote location, because that's the very first place that I ever opened the account, and that's the very first place that I ever started adding, information or content or uploading books to the account from. So I keep that very, very, very careful. What I fear is that having someone uploading your content from a remote location like that, unless there is that trust factor, I wouldn't do it just yet. I would kind of hold off until we got it right. In terms of submitting, submissions are very, very easy. It's just really copy and paste, right? And your VA is providing you with the book detail information, so it's not as if they aren't. You might have to do a little bit of editing. Actually, you can send it to someone to have them edit it too. But the point is that you should be the one uploading it, because you're the central money banker. If you have the person uploading it, then we have to email Amazon and let them know what that person's IP address is, and that person will be logging into your account. And that's just good business sense, because you want to preempt any problems that might arise if that person or that IP address is affiliated with a Kindle account that was previously banned. So you want to make sure that that is the case. So if they're uploading, if you're doing it through Speedy, absolutely. Because, we don't have that restriction, right? And if we did, we can actually remove it. So it's not a problem on our part. But if you're doing it to any other of the other people's systems, especially Amazon, be very, very careful. If you're going to do it and have them upload it, speak or drop an email to Amazon and let them know exactly what you are doing and let them know what the situation is and keep them apprised of what's going on. You don't want it to be a problem for sure. Okay. Right. So Kindle Booster still, of course, creates that ranking, and we still have that service. But the thing is, it's only Kindle. And the way how we publish now, we don't put books out there for free. What we can do is that we can put books out there for 1 cent, which is something that we can actually do, literally. So if you wanted to, we can, if you've got 10, 15, 20, 30 people, we can put a digital book out there for 1 cent. That's the truth of the matter, right? So that really can help or make sense at the end of the day. Okay. So, but no, at the end of the day, because we just don't do Kindle, and the overall Kindle Booster was built on the free model, and that's one of the problems that we had, because the guys who were reviewing for us had to get it free, and as a result, once we shifted, they weren't able to kind of move with the times, and so it's not totally dead or abandoned. But it's morphed more into, as we said before, I just read it in quick words, where the mass marketing approach is much more preferred. Okay, it's normal to have cover created with bookcoverpro.com and the covers created by bookcoverpro.com, just Speedy. Okay, so Cedric is asking, is it normal to have the cover created with bookcoverpro.com, the software, in the covers created by Book Cover Pro? Does Speedy Publishing Co. Distribute to Flipkart? Yes, we do. Okay. Is it normal to have cover created with Book Cover Pro in the covers created? I'm not sure what exactly you mean. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Cedric. I'm totally lost with that question. If you're saying that we actually use, if Suzette actually uses, and the design team, Natalie and everybody uses Book Cover Pro to create covers, no, they don't. They're so seasoned by hand that they can do it on their own. They'll just right click, 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 and that's it. I've seen them do it. I've written to Suzette and said, Suzette, I need a cover in 45 minutes, and it's click, 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 and she has a really good looking cover created. That's how good they are. For us, well, for me, I'm not, I have none of that artistic inclination. I have no artistic skills. So I have to really and truly depend on software like that to help me get to that point, which is why I was the one who kind of came up with the overall Book Cover Pro thing and how to do that, blah, 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 blah. And she just refined it, which was awesome. And being able to refine it meant that we could move a lot faster, but she absolutely hates the system. She does everything by hand and gives it a little bit more care, I suppose, but the objective is the same. Again, I'm not saying that I'm seeing 500 more sales from covers that are coming from her versus what covers are coming from me. I'll give you an example of what I mean when we're stepping up our game. If I can, I'm going to just point out something so that you can actually see exactly what's going on. So I'm going to go back to BookBub, and I think it's actually Haro that we're looking on in terms of really, really covers what we're talking about here, where we're talking about something that is going to blow you away, right? Here we go. If you saw something like this, this alone is scary enough, just looking on it. When you're talking about something being done like this, can Suzette do it? Yes, she can. How long will it take is the difference. It is the time period that it will take in order to get it done, right? It is the time period that it will take in order to get it done. If I was to look on this cover alone, if I'm someone who liked scary books, I would probably just buy it, right? And as you can see here at 99 cents, it's $3.32 in the paid Kindle store. There's no doubt in my mind that this definitely contributed probably to 90% of the buy, the cover and the image that you're seeing here. God, this is scary. And it would just drive someone to really and truly just buy it. Look how real this looks. And this and what Susan had mentioned to me before, this is almost a painting, or it can be hand drawn, and something like this can be created. What would be the problem? Is who exactly, how long this would take in order to be done, right? And as you can see, the author clearly, if he's a werewolf, very unassuming. But the whole point is that it doesn't look that way, or really, 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 that difficult to figure out why they're selling that much. It's the quality of the cover that really sells it, right? It's the quality of the cover that really sells it at the end of the day. So again, for our purposes, I only think of speed of implementation from that particular purpose. Suzette can do covers like this. Do I have her doing covers like this? No. Because I need to, of course, build that level of profitability. Will this book end up selling 1 million copies and making the author $2 million or $3 million or $4 million? Possibly very unlikely, right? Unless it gets a book deal and everything, and then it now becomes a one-shot. Can I ever get to that point? What if no one likes it? What if no screenplay can be written? What if, and will it ever? So there are a lot of what ifs at that particular point in time, and you really don't know. So you want to make sure you go after where the revenue is coming from day one, and that's what you really want to focus in on. So again, for those covers, that's typically my 2 cents. Okay, Enat, yes, we are. Flipkart. We are Flipkart. So that's our speed publishing right here. Let's take a look on some distribution channels. Yep, we got Flipkart. But again, for Flipkart for speedy publishing, let's look on the asset type rules. If you're not publishing an EPUB, you're not going to get into Flipkart. That's one of the problems that many people fail to realize. When we're publishing, we have to go by what Flipkart requires us to do, right? So Flipkart says, Colin, you've got to give us an EPUB, and you've got to give us the front cover. If your book is in a Mobi version or your book is in a web PDF and you don't take the time to convert that to an EPUB, then you're not going to get into Flipkart, right? You're not going to get the full blast of all of those different places, right? So that's one of the real problems that you've got to make sure that you get around that, right? So, and we have both manual, and then we have withdraw, and we can set up automated pre-pub. So we don't have automated pre-pub just yet, right? And we haven't set up automated distribution for that yet. So it happens basically on a weekly basis. We push the go button for them, because a lot of the time we have to make sure that if you want to get, you've got to make sure if you want to get your books into full distribution, you have to have a proper EPUB. You have to have a proper Mobi. You have to have a proper, a proper web PDF. So full distribution is what it's all about. Places like OmniLit and those other places, you can end up not getting your book in there just because you don't have that web PDF version. It's just so ridiculous sometimes, but that's typically what it is. And that's the real truth of the matter. Okay, so go ahead and make sure that I got this. Okay, so right, VA upload to SpeedyCo, any danger? Not at all. Not at all, Casey. I mean, we can see, we track everything that happens in your account, so we can see everything. I mean, and what Cedric is saying, I mean, is there currently a mention cover with Bookcover Pro, Adobe, the ISBN barcode, or covers created by Bookcover Pro? I'm wondering if it's normal to have that mention on or covers PDF. If you wanted to add the barcode, the ISBN barcode, you could. That is something that you can do. You'd have to, of course, request the ISBN from us first. See what I'm saying? And that would basically work out at the end of the day. That would basically be it. Well, guys, I've got to get into the training though, because we've already gone like a long time, and we're just answering questions. Right. Okay. Awesome, Kim. But Casey's asking one last question here. Casey is asking the sale of large print versus time to convert or entire backlist. If it's really good ROI, it depends, because what you've realized is that people will buy your large print. There's a very, very big market for large print. There is a big market for large print. There are bookstores that will buy them. There are people who will buy them. It's another format and it's another method. You'll have cases where your large print might get into specific retail channels where your ordinary print will not. That is also something that we've seen. I've seen books that are appearing on Powell's and I think Book People that end up not appearing in the ordinary print but appear there on the large print, which is absolutely crazy and astounding. So from that particular perspective, it's something that you want to kind of look out and look on. Everything that you're doing in terms of bringing your backlist into the future is based on a decision on whether or not to gauge your overall investment on that. That's why people kind of look on what are typically known as retained earnings. If you had earnings over a period of time that you've been able to kind of set aside, you can then, of course, move that into R&D and then produce everything that you have in your backlist and create new content, right? But it does take a substantial investment as long as you don't cannibalize your existing business, that you have your existing staff still doing what they're supposed to be doing. Maybe you need to hire on some other people who are going to work with you to get that done. Okay. Awesome. Okay, guys, so let's dive right into creating your spreadsheet. And Ina, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much, because this is a sheet that we decided to kind of replace what we had before. Now, I might implement this in my business right now. I'm trying to talk to our members to our team members to see if they'll be willing to switch. They're going to say, Colin, again. But the whole point is that the sheet that I give you is an exact replica of what we do on a monthly basis, right? And what our team members utilize on a monthly basis. So at first glance, it might seem a little bit confusing, but it can be done a little bit better. Yes, I agree. It's what they're used to. But what Ina did here was she was able to kind of tweak what I did in terms of making a column that said content type, whether the English ISBN, the trim size, we have the cover on LSI template, or I guess the cover, the description about the author, if the book has been published on CreateSpace, Lightning Source, published on ACX, or published on Speedy, right? So this basically will allow the person to be able to populate the data from the get-go. And what she's done is that she's used some really cool advances here where the section is populated. So we can decide to say if we wanted a zero content book here, I can put in zero content book. So I can literally just, and you don't have to put the caps on. All you have to do is type in zero content books. And it will automatically color code it, right? And it goes down date by date. So the person doesn't have to kind of feel through as what we had set it to be before, where the person feels through, right? So this is basically what we're going to be using right now. But while this is important for us to kind of populate here, one of the things that we want to make sure that happens is that we go ahead and determine what it is that we want to achieve financially, right? This is the case. And we start basically from in the reverse, kind of, right? So I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. We start off by looking on what we intend to spend over the particular time period. So we look on our overall kind of budget. This is what basically whittles down to. So if I look on Textbroker and I say, okay, well, look, for the month, I intend not to spend anything on Textbroker, right? The average cost of a Textbroker article is going to be about $15 or $16, I would probably say, right? Or possibly depending on, you know, the topic that you're going to use, you might use someone who's a little bit better. But in my opinion, on average, I'd probably say at least, you know, $17 on average, right? So if I was going to buy for 1,000 words, so if I was going to buy 10,000 words, it would cost me $170, right? And 10,000 words can be, of course, an entire book. So if I wanted to do that, then I could. At this particular stage, I can take less content in shorter bursts depending on different topics. So if I wanted to say, okay, well, for this month, because you've got to start off, because if you try and plan ahead in what you intend to do, then there's no way that you're going to be able to choose the right books that you're going to be able to work with for that particular month. You already know in your head how much money you have to spend or how much money you plan to spend. And that's where you would start from. Do you have $500 that you can invest for the month of February? That way you don't become frustrated with, you know, am I missing something here, right? So for me, I'll go off and I'll start off with what we had basically discussed for mostly everybody, which is going to be like $800, I would probably say, $400 on staff and the rest on content, right? So for this particular purpose here, cost of articles, I'm possibly going to leave that absolutely blank. So I'm not going to go into Textbroker at all, right? I'm going to go into transcriptions. So I'm going to say, well, I want to have at least, I'd probably say at least 4 books created, right? And if I want to have 4 content-rich books created, I'm going to do that every single week. I need to choose those niches very, very carefully. But on average, I know it's going to cost me $60 or $59 for just one particular transcription that's going to give me 10,000 words, right? So I need to pay for 40,000 words, right? Which is a lot of words. But in doing that, I can actually pay for even 3,000, 30,000, and I can mix and match and create 3 separate books with that. It depends on niches that I choose again, and it's just very, very important to remember. But just for argument's sake, we're going to say we're going to spend $240 on transcriptions. So we've dropped that in there, right? Now, if I'm going to be creating a lot of content, right, on my first month, I might decide to say, okay, well, I don't have that much content. How can I bulk up? Well, there's something that I wanted to talk to everybody about, but it's at the end of the webinar. It's not a selling thing either, just so you know. For cost of images, you can possibly say, okay, well, I want to go ahead and invest possibly at least $100 on, you know, on 123RF images. $100 will basically give you close to 200 credits, right? Because it's just 69, I think it'll be 69, blah, blah, blah. Right, so it'll give you a good number of credits that you can get, right? Because it's, you know, $100, right? So it's $69. I think $69 will give you 10. So then, yeah, 100 plus credits well. So let's say $100 on 123RF. Copyscape, you're definitely going to need to have at least $20 there, right? Now, cost of conversions for Fiverr. For all of your EPUBs, no need, and I demoed this last night. To create your enhanced ebooks, normally what we were going to Fiverr. So this is now out of our system totally, because we have found Juto, thanks to Cedric, and that software allows us to convert into EPUB 3. Brilliant. So there's no need for us to kind of go back, and the actual format fits in with what we have. So we don't have any cost on Fiverr, right? Now, am I going to do a promotion on BookBub, or am I going to do a promotion on Riffle? I might say to myself, okay, the Riffle promotion is actually $50 for all Speedy Publishing members. No, and we're going to announce that not this week, but the coming week, the week after this week. The reason is that the normal setup for Riffle is, of course, $75 for Riffle books, which is going to basically blast you out there. Riffle is doing almost the same exact thing that BookBub is doing, but at a slower pace, right? So they're doing it a little bit differently because they're focusing heavily on Facebook, right? So they're not really doing a lot of Google AdSense Google AdWords ads and all that kind of stuff. So, so again, that's very, very interesting to see how they're set up. But everything that BookBub is doing, we're basically cloning their entire system and doing it in that entire way. Do we expect to get to their point, to their size eventually? Yes, but overnight, definitely not. Okay, so we look on that and we're saying, okay, well, we're going to basically spend roughly about $410 on our operational and variable costs that we have, and then we look on our overall salaries. And if I said, okay, well, I'm not going to pay myself, right? Then I would go ahead and put in a zero. But I need to pay myself at least $500 for the month, right? And more importantly, for wages and salaries, I need to go ahead and pay my team leader, which is going to get $400 or $450, either which way. So I now know that including my content and all this kind of stuff here is going to cost me $1,360. But the key thing here that I'm seeing is that we were dealing with transcriptions. So now that I know in terms of what I'm getting myself into, right, I've got this figure here, right? Now remember, we can't populate the sales yet because we don't have any sales data yet, right? So it's really about our budgeting costs. Now, once we've seen this here, our next immediate step is to head back to our listing and we start to populate what we know that we can populate, right? And then it just becomes a numbers game, right? So the first thing that we want to do is that we know that we're going to have to order that particular cover and that particular transcription, right? So our first step from in-house, our own in-house, and I want everyone to write this down, our first step is to be able to choose our existing niches and choose the niches that we want to work with, right? So we can go to the Speedy Publishing report. We can look on horse training, right, as a particular niche. We can look on creative confidence, poker strategy. I just picked this out and did that poker strategy one and did that transcribe team and got, 11,000 words. Weightlifting, detox cleanse, essential oils, minimalism, potty training, anger management for women, golf instructions, budget planner, low-fat vegan, marriage counseling, dream interpretation, weight loss motivation, LLP techniques. Do you think that you can find something like this in a transcription for a video on YouTube? That's really just so easy to do. Woodworking plans, well, this is a little bit difficult. Natural cleaning recipes, frugal living, marijuana growing, permaculture, medicinal herbs. All of these you can find easily information, anxiety relief. All this you can find easy information for, right, on YouTube, and you can transcribe it. Pick 4 of them. Pick 4 of them, and of course you'd want to pick from the green batch. So I would possibly go ahead and pick horse training, right? And I would go ahead and grab that horse training option. I would head over to my spreadsheet, and on the Friday I'd go ahead and put in horse training. So I would next head to the next Friday, and then I would of course put in another niche. So let's say creative confidence, right? and then I'll go ahead and go to the next Friday, and I'll put in another niche, right? So that other niche would, of course, be, again, a green niche. So I'm going to look for poker strategy, and then I can look for minimalism. So I'm going to do those 4. And then I'm going to do minimalism. Excellent. Okay, so now we have all of those. I need to make sure that I populate and say exactly what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a content book. I'm not sure if Enat had actually coded this, but you can scribble something in the chat, Enat, if you remember the code that you did for that. But I know what the other codes are for, like, training, for pamphlets and stuff like that. So we'll automatically color code. But we have horse training, and this is a content book, right? So it's a content-rich book. So this means that we basically have a EPUB or digital. I'll go and put digi. I'll go and put print, right? And I'll go ahead and I'll put large print. And I'll go ahead and I'll also put, so digital, print, large print. We're going to have, we can go ahead and do our enhanced, right? And we can go ahead and do our apps for argument's sake, right? So that's what we would basically have. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. And just copy that. And I'm just going to put space there. Paste. And paste. Okay, so this is pretty much what it is that we're doing with putting out the types of books that we want. Now, immediately from day one, here's what we're going to do. Having identified this, we need to go out and we need to say to our VA, let's find relevant content that fits these particular niches. So I hope everyone is kind of figuring out right now what's happening, because your virtual assistants at some point in time were able to choose a video on their own for a specific topic. They're going to be replicating that particular same strategy right now. You, of course, want to be able to, during the course of the week, kind of look on what they've chosen, right? But here's how it's going to work going forward. Now that we know that we intend to spend X dollars to create these books, right? Let us now move on, because we know how much we can invest and what we intend to get from it, right? That's the key here. We know how much we're investing, $410. I remember saying this to everybody to kind of understand this is what we do, right? So now that we've invested that $400 in terms of acquiring content, right? We've only spent $240. We haven't spent anything on the images just yet. And of course, we've got to use Copyscape. That is just paramount, right? So what we're going to do here now is that we're going to say, what do I do for the remaining days, right? So at this particular point in time, in terms of ranking what sells the most, I'm going to tell you what sells the most. In terms of being able to produce the most amount of revenue in the shortest period of time, it's going to be reprints that do it. Hands down, reprints are the easiest way because it's a lot of content and it's content-based, and you're getting it into 2 different formats. Pamphlets and zero content books are 1 format, right? Reprints are 2 formats, but reprints take a little bit more work, right? Because there has to be the back end where you're putting up the audio side of it as well, right? And you also run the risk of someone actually taking the exact same content that you did and trying to do the exact same thing that you did, right? So that's also something that you also run the risk with. I believe that while reprints do that, they don't create enough value at the end of the day for your business in terms of the value of your catalog, right? So I believe that there has to be a healthy balance, right? Coupled with the fact that you don't want to create that level of that kind of monotony for your employee. You want to be able to mix and match it so you keep them grounded and fresh on every single aspect, and of course updates that might take place. So the first thing I'm going to do is remember, you look on your budget primarily to see what it is that you intend to spend for the month, right? That's basically where it's at. So the next step is that I'm now going to say, all right, Colin, what am I going to create on the first? I'll go ahead and have them create a reprint, right? Now I need to choose what are the reprint topics that I want to, of course, have that person deal with. So I'm going to head over to whether it's going to be IDPLR. So let's say idplr.com, right? I'm going to plop in, and I can go into IDPLR. Now, if I wanted to register for IDPLR, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. It's basically 3 months membership for $37. That's all it is. And there are books that are on the PLR store that are in here. So normally, sometimes to save on cash, you want to check them, right? So if not, I'm going to go to the PLR store. Whoops. So let me look on the PLR store. Excellent. So some of these books are going to cost you a few bucks, right? But I don't count them, because if you were to take 50 of these books, in my opinion, those 50 would probably be, a lot. I don't see you spending probably more than about 40 bucks a month or 50 bucks a month on the PLR store or for reprints, right? And that fluctuates so heavily because you really and truly can't figure out what your budget could be for this, right? So for my purposes, I don't add anything like this because I can take, mix and match anything I want. So in the example I did a couple of days ago, I showed you where I took a composting book, right? I've got a vertical gardening book, and I've got other stuff. I can then create a gardener's Bible, for argument's sake, on becoming a green thumb, and I can create that as a reprint book, and I'm merging that composting book, and I'm merging it with another book. So I'm stacking the PLR stuff that I have. Do you know why? Because I have the ability to do so, right? So when I'm looking on stuff like that, it's not that every single time that I'm going to create a reprint, I'm going to run all the way to the PLR store and buy it whole. That's the way how it is, right? One of the reasons why I don't do that is because there are people out there who are doing exactly that or trying to do exactly that. So you want to make sure that you try and get your stuff a little bit unique, right? So you can talk to your team leader, or your VA already knows exactly what stacking basically is, right? The concept has been explained to them. So if I say to that person, take this content and that content and this content and that content and put it together, then they're going to do it, right? The only thing for me here is for me to choose the niches that I want to go into, right? So I can decide to say I can go into any one of these niches. I can go into cooking. I can go into Forex, which is a very good one, by the way. Forex is always good. Gardening is also good to an extent. Anything internet related, not good. Men's health, not very, very good. Marriage, yeah, can work. And I think these are actually articles here. But if we've got anything on marriage, not even there in the ebook section. There you go. Not giving you at all anything on the ebook section. Hobbies, not really bad, because hobbies, I have seen hobbies books do pretty okay. Sell a couple of copies, almost 100 copies, I think. But stuff like this, learning guitar, learn Spanish the easy way. Here is a very interesting one. This is a very interesting one if I was to buy this. But it looks like software, though. It's only 21 pages. the right reason many people, how to learn Spanish, what to buy in the meantime. And there you go with online resources, audio courses, just really just telling you where to go to learn. I don't know why that would be really helpful. But here's another one, making beer at home. This is another great option. This is 48 words, and this is beer making, right? This is beer brewing. Yep. Can it be published online? I'm sure everyone and their mother would be probably clamoring over this. Let's see if it can be published online. Can be rewritten or edited. Can be used to create ebooks. Can be broken down and sold into smaller articles. Can be sold, published in other language. Can claim you are the author. Okay, can be rebranded. It's saying yes to everything, which seems extremely weird. Extremely weird. But in any event, you have that option, and then you can of course see related things here. Brew your own beer. You've got beer PLR articles. So it's really entry not going to really cost you a dramatic amount of money to get a whole lot of reprint stuff. But as you can see, just by looking, you can grab quite a number of them. So I can say reprint here. I can probably go ahead and grab that beer brewing one. Right? And you want to keep it uniform for the day, right? So I'm going to grab beer brewing, and I'm going to go ahead and say beer brewing, and then I'm going to grab another one. Let's say I know that I saw something, learn Spanish. I saw something on, let's say, poker. Let's see if we find anything on poker. There. And we choose what we want to find, anything at all. So we can choose the niches from beforehand, or we can just browse. So here's the survival kit. Right? 50/20 $1.99 as a survival kit. Right? Can be master sale rights, can be that. So it doesn't tell me that I can print it offline, so I'm not really interested then. Here's Forex. Basics of Forex, 58 pages. Pretty good. Can I publish it offline? Can change and publish the products offline? Yes, there we go. Okay, so this is something that looks pretty good. So I'm going to change that from poker to Forex. So I'm getting 2 books on that particular day. Now remember, guys, at the end of the day, even if I spend $7 here, and it's a slight investment, this is $7 that it's not going to really affect your bottom line, because it's going to be content that you're going to be able to use again and again and again, but there's no really resale value on it, right? Because you can't try and sell it as PLR to other people, right? I wouldn't advise it, and it's just not a business model that you would probably try to go into. But the key here is that you've acquired the content very quickly, and your staff is going to be able to utilize it very quickly, right? So we've got reprints, and we're going to put in those 2 reprints here. You can look for the ISBN, but I mean, if you request the ISBNs from us, but there's no need to. If you're publishing with Speedy Publishing, you can go ahead with it very quickly. Again, we want to make sure we're putting in our 6x9, right? And of course, we want to make sure that the cover on LSI template, all we need to actually have is just the cover, right? Your cover, if you're submitting to us, is placed automatically on an LSI template for us before it goes over to Lightning Source to be populated or distributed. Okay, so let me grab a couple of questions here, just as everybody wants to ask. Content-only book. Thank you so much, Ina. All right. I know you can make it better. Okay, right. So content-only book. That's what we call it. So it's content-only book. And it's going to content-only book or books. Let's see what Enet said here. Content. Where is the question? Questions. Okay, here we go. Content-only books. Okay. Got you. Content-only books. There we go. F2 and with an S, automatically color codes. So there you go. So it's content only books, and it automatically color codes the entire row. Brilliant stuff, Enoch. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. Okay. So then we basically have this set up the way how it's going to automatically, come up here. And then we're going to put in reprint. I think it would be reprints or reprint books. There you go. And so we have reprint books. Now, one of the key things, guys, is that remember, you're not going to be really and truly paying for anything anymore. If we decide to give them, we're going to give them the content for Bear Brewing and Forex. I can then say, for this day here, I can say 0 content, right? I can say 0 content, and I can then say diary, and I can possibly say coloring book. And I'm going to go here and type in 0 content books. Okay, and I might want this to be 8.5. I'm going to multiply that by 11. So the trim size is going to be 8.5 by 11 for these two. And I might want to have another set of 0 content books, but in this instance, I might want to have a crossword puzzle. And I might want to have another another coloring book. Typically, when I'm using like stuff like this for Illustrator, I don't really want to kind of put the person under pressure to do that. But again, everybody, remember, when this is being done and the person is cutting up all of those images, they are storing all of those images. So in essence, for Suzette, when Suzette is doing something, it's very hard to rein her in for her to understand the financial side of the business and say, look, you can't keep on going to 123RF and spending $100 or $200 every day to buy content. It's impossible. We're running a business. It doesn't work like that. You've got to be able to utilize a library that we have, right? And we have a massive library, a really, really massive library. We did an image count. We've got over 20,000 images, right? So in essence, you want to be able to utilize that image, find an image in there that makes sense. As you continue to purchase and you continue to grow your own library, you'll have that many images too. And so your virtual assistant won't need to go over the existing budget. Once the budget is where it's at, and that is the budget, that's where it ends. There ain't no going over that budget. Not anymore, right? So I might just go ahead and say crossword puzzle. I wouldn't put a coloring book there. I'm going to go ahead and put probably a journal. And I'm going to call that a 0 content book. Excellent. So now I can go ahead and I want to go into pamphlets. Now, the key thing, and I'm going to go ahead and put this here, and I can make that possibly a 6x9. And really and truly, you want to kind of put the books that are typically the same. So, a crossword puzzle can be a 5.5 by 8.5. A journal doesn't have to be a gigantic journal, right? It can be a relative 6x9 or even a 7x10. But most journals are typically small that people write into. They're private. People try to keep them secret. So that's pretty much, that would be A. So I want to go into pamphlets. But what is selling for pamphlets? How do we find that out? You don't have to always wait on the niche report from us. You have the option of taking the option of going for a niche report on your own by looking and using companies like barcharts.com. What you basically do is that you head over to barcharts.com, and let's say you look on business law, ethics, business communication, right? And we go ahead and look on business communication. We have the ISBN, right? So we can go to Amazon, and we can actually look on the ISBN, and we can see how that particular one is performing. 746. Not that good, right? Not that good. So we created, that's one of the ways that we did this. So we can do, let's go ahead and do this, December niche. Okay, so we're going to look on what we call the December niche report, right? And the December niche report basically kind of shows, oops, think someone might have deleted this. Not cool. Protective view has stopped. Okay. No, not cool. Okay, let me go ahead and find that. December niche report. I think this might be it here. Definitely, here we go. Okay, so we did this already by going through an entire set of listings here and highlighting the ones that we know that we could utilize that are selling well. So when you look on things like Spanish verbs, these are good terms for us to go into. So we use things that don't require a lot of images. Lymphatic system, things like all of that. Weak heart, skeletal. We don't have the wherewithal to create that type of content, right? We would have to buy it. And in this case, we're not buying any content. So the key thing that I want to do is focus in on things that we know that are based on written content, things that we can find the information easily online, right? So what we want to do is that we want to use things like that. So here's quick study law contracts, which are possibly contractual terms, right? We've got things like, well, Spanish medical conversation, something totally different. Aromatherapy is also one that looks good. We can probably look on this ISBN here to see how that topic is still performing to this day. See here. 3,000 in books, not very bad at all. So it's really performing well. So aromatherapy is still doing pretty well. Aromatherapy. And it can be a case where it's being sold along with another particular book. So sometimes we have to kind of lend our intelligence look and feel to it. But if we go ahead and click on paperback, let's scroll down and see here, it's not even classified as a paperback. Let me go ahead and hit the back button. And here we go. It's considered, so it's entered into the system as a pamphlet actually, which is what it is. When our books enter into the system, they enter in as an actual book, right? But as you can see, they've entered this here. There's nothing set up with this particular title that people can see it or it can sell. It's probably just selling because herbal therapy is probably selling well, or it's reflexology that's selling well. And that's just driving the sales, right? So as you can see, reflexology is 2,647, so it's below. So it can be a case where reflexology can be driving the sales for this particular book as well, right? And don't be fooled when you don't see anything in here, like these here. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're always selling with this, right? You can log in at any point in time of the day and see something totally different. So that's one of the things that we discovered over a period of time. So one of the key things that we want to kind of look on is, as you can see, books that have that look inside feature are selling way more, right? And that's what we believe in, and that's what we're going to deal with, and that's what we're going to focus in on. But we're going to use that niche report, and we're going to choose a couple of topics. So if I was to go into aromatherapy, and I saw something that said herbal therapy, I can choose those two niches to create two pamphlets. So I'm going to go back to my niche report here, and I'm going to say pamphlets. I'm going to put the dash, and I'm going to, of course, say aromatherapy. And I'm going to also go ahead and say herbal therapy. And this should be pamphlets. There you go. Awesome. So the key thing here is that, and these are going to be a standard 8.5 by 11 because they all are. Okay. And our zero content book is of course going to be a 6 by 9. Okay, as a trim size. So in this instance here, guys, what we actually have is a full week's worth of week worth of work. Sorry, that the person can do, right? And we would not have breached our overall expenditure, and that's the key thing. So even if we decide to say, okay, well, look, let's push up our production of zero content books for the following week, we can do that, right? So we have the option of doing that. The key thing here is that will it affect our bottom line in terms of our overall expenditure? No, it won't, right? And because it won't, then we have a little bit of freedom in choice of what it is that we want to put out. Now, if we're talking about that we want to go ahead and put out more zero content books, then we have that option because our team leaders and team leader ones can create 2 zero content books every single day on their own, right? Now, in your mind, you might be saying, well, maybe we can create 500 zero content books in one day, right? That is very doable. But you've got to have the requisite number of people who are doing it, or you've got to have the requisite number of people who are going to come together and form a line. And when I mean a line, what I mean by that is that every single person is responsible for one particular part of the process of creating a zero content book. So if one person is just there to create the cover, all they're doing is sitting down every day and just creating covers. So if they're taking 20 minutes to create a cover, they can create X number of covers every day. That's all they're doing. 20 minutes to create a cover, and that's all they're doing. And they keep on recycling that or going over that over and over and over. The next person is, I'm creating interiors. I'm tweaking the interiors. I'm tweaking the interiors. They're the only ones doing that. And then you have all people doing, I'm writing the description, I'm writing the description, I'm writing about the author, I'm writing about the author. That's all they're doing. And those people can do 10, 15, 20 in a day, right? And then another person can do 10. So even if you had 4 people who were doing 2 each, you'd get 8. But now with 4 people doing 10 or 20 things in one day, you're going to end up getting 10 or 20, right? More than almost triple your production output. That's what you've got to look on. And that's what you've got to move towards, right? So the key strategy here is that you want to make sure that you keep your costs at a minimum based on your investment, right? And you can say to yourself at this particular point in time, okay, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 books created in 1 week, right? Your overall budget has not been shaken. And you can rinse and repeat this process as much as you want, choosing the niches that make sense. Now, once you've done this, what you can basically do is that you can upload this to your Google Docs, right? And you can have your staff continue to, of course, populate this. Now, this is what we're going to teach them on, and this is what the training video is going to focus on. I wanted to make sure that we had this sorted out. So we also have the introduction of Juto, which is the ebook, the EPUB software, right? And that's going to allow them to really and truly create what they want to create, right? So again, with what is happening with Video Blocks, and they emailed me and said they're back with the $99 thing, which is $99 a year for use. So they're running the promotion again, which is why they didn't contact me, so I can send the promotion to my members. So I'm going to forward it on to everyone. It's going to last a couple of days. So it's $99 for the year. Again, I mean, it's a choice of toss-up to me. If I was on the back end, would I do Andromo or would I do Video Blocks? Video Blocks has really great videos, and you're going to need them really and truly to create your enhanced EPUBs. But Andromo, if there's the choice, really though, I would say I would go with Andromo. Both, I think, are going to be time sensitive, but I think Andromo is really and truly much more important right now for you to kind of start getting your feet wet in terms of the creation of apps. Okay, so pretty much what you're basically seeing here is a typical outline of what you're going to be able to create going forward, right? As long as you can keep focused on what you're doing month over month, you'll end up with books that are going to be published and are going to start to sell. Now, for your existing books like Horse Training, that you've created digital, the print, the large print, the enhanced, and the app version. Those are the books that you want to basically go to Riffle and kind of start promoting, right? Your pamphlets, of course, will get out there. Your zero content books will get out there, and your reprints will get out there, right? And then what you want to do is focus in on your mass marketing approach to get those books out there, pretty much like what we're doing in terms of BookBub and cloning what BookBub has. To me, that's something that is a massive, because it does take a massive investment. If you're publishing with Speedy Publishing, just put one of your books with us. That's all. Then just keep the ISBN constant. Sorry. When we start to promote, people will start to see that, because there's one particular person who publishes only to Kindle. He's making $53,000 every single month. Amazingly. He has about 100 plus titles, and all of them are, of course, fiction. But he has a massive following. But he doesn't publish on anything else, right? He does only Kindle. Now, what you think would happen or happens when he decides to publish elsewhere? His Kindle sales are going to fall. His Kindle sales are going to fall because there are people who are out there who find his content when it's marketed, and they would have normally had to have gone to the Kindle to buy. They're not buying from Kindle because they have an iPad. They're just going to buy it in the Apple iStore. That's what they're going to do. So in essence, they don't really, they don't have to go back to Kindle to get the stuff. They'll just get it in their iPad, or they'll go somewhere else to buy it. So your Kindle sales might possibly fall because you're literally available everywhere else. But when it starts to level out, you're going to end up seeing more, because the decline in your Kindle sales is going to be boosted by your sale everywhere else. So you've got all of these different channels who are bringing in money now, and you're going to see a small tapering off of the sales on Kindle. And so when this guy is doing $53,000 every single month, he does eventually do this, and then his sales fall to $48,000 for the month in the following month, right? And that's on Kindle. So he sees a $5,000 dink. But when he gets his report to show him exactly what he made basically almost 60% of what he made on Amazon from all the other different publishing partners. So overall, he made 70 plus those. And it was a good trade-off for the fall-off in terms of the Kindle sales, because he was able to ramp up his revenue substantially, right? And that's pretty much how it's going to play out for everything that you're doing publishing-wise, right? So you've got to be able to kind of really and truly math out or decide exactly on your overall approach. This is what you're going to be doing every single month, right? So we're going to send off this particular spreadsheet. You're going to be able to take your Friday or Friday afternoon or Saturday, populate the spreadsheet, and then upload it into Google Drive, right? At that particular point in time, you can determine, because you don't have to follow me. You can put the zero content book here, right? And you can put the zero content books here, and then you can do the reprints later, or you can put the pamphlets here. Whichever way you want to create it, it's totally up to you. For the first week, they're going to be submitting them to both of us in their first week of February, because we're not letting go of the process or the project. We keep a tight rein to make sure that everyone is working the way how they're supposed to be working, right? So all you've got to do is, once you populate this particular spreadsheet here, and again, just look out for the email, guys. I want to make sure that I get all of these things processed all at once, instead of going back to the guy and asking him to get the codex sorted for the GoToWebinar. So once you have all of this, right, once you've populated this in full, you're going to upload it to your Google Drive. And once you upload it to your Google Drive, then your staff is going to start working on it. So we want to talk a little bit about your expected revenues and what you are going to be able to see coming from something like this, and what you're going to be able to realize or get at the end of the day. So if you're publishing to your own Kindle account, right, then anticipate again that you're going to be able to get whatever you're getting on that side of the world, right? Make sure that you're marketing your book, whatever it is that you're doing, and more importantly, use the ISBN that we give you. So if you intend to publish through Speedy Publishing with that content too, go ahead and ask for the ISBN. It won't prevent you if you have some strange illness might befall you, and you might decide to put your book out there for free on, and join something like that Kindle Select thing. If some strange illness might befall you and you put it out there, you can't publish the book in Speedy Publishing for the next 90 days, right? But you've gotten the ISBN, sit on it and wait, and then when you're out, then you can, of course, publish it back with us. Not an issue, right? So in terms of uniformity, that's a way to do it. The key here is that you want to look on your overall revenue, and I'm going to kind of tell you exactly what we get from this particular strategy that we're employing now. So everything comes through Speedy Publishing, as everyone basically knows. So we don't publish literally anywhere else, right? So on a typical month in terms of overall revenue, and I'm not going to include Blue Shift Publishing, I'm going to say this is dead for Speedy Publishing, right? We're looking on just about 23. So I'm going to put in some real figures here, right? So I can look on that in terms of overall revenue, and that's from an in-house purpose, right? I can look and see exactly, and this is for previous months going forward again. So we haven't even talked about what we're getting for the month of December yet. So that's just what would have come in for previous months, right? So I'm going to look on for Textbroker. We spend about, I'd say about 3. Transcriptions, we spend another, I think about 1,000, I think, flat on transcriptions. 123RF, we definitely spend a lot of stuff on 123RF here. Copyscape, I think we do probably about $50 on Copyscape. And of course on BookBub, we always try and do at least one BookBub promotion. And on Riffle Books, we probably do about 4 or 5. So I'd probably say thereabouts. I'd probably say 75 times about. Oh yeah, we're $50. So I'd say about 8, for instance. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So these are like real crunching numbers. So in terms of a team leader salary, 1, or my team leader 2 is paid $700. I don't take a salary per se. I'm like a consultant for my own business, kind of. So I'd probably say at that particular point in time, I'll pay myself like $2,500. I usually leave that actually blank, to be honest with you, but just for posterity's sake, and this is what I'm looking on. So that's what my overall expenses will result in. Now, on this end here, however, we are basically, kind of pushing things a little bit more in terms of what is being created, right? So based on how versed one staff member is, we can create literally more than 2 coloring books, more than 2 zero content books per day. And we also have the advent of being able to translate these books, which your VAs are not ready to do yet, right? So that's something I want to make clear. When you translate these books here, you're literally getting, 6 more books that you can actually publish at the same time. Okay, so let me go back to our listing. Right, so this is pretty much what we're looking on. And then I look on my overall sales. And what I want to do is look on exactly how much I'm making profit and loss wise, right? So I can see exactly at the end of the day the information is automatically populated. And this is something I use a lot. Now I want to make sure that I look on my margins. If I don't have a margin that exceeds like 30%, I'm doing something wrong, right? I'm doing something wrong. At no point in time must I be below 30%. And this formula will automatically populate here. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're below 30%, then we've got to make some changes immediately. We've got to make some changes immediately because we would need to do some things to get back into anything over 30%. And you can't carry 30% for a very long time, right? This type of business is not allowed for us to kind of carry on that type of business or carry on in that manner. And if you try to calculate exactly what you're doing now and you're not seeing those type of margins, then it's a very bad thing, right? It's a very, very bad thing. Okay, so pretty much what we're looking on here is the spreadsheet, and I wanted to find out from everyone if they basically understood exactly how the spreadsheet worked and what questions they might have initially. So I'm going to go down the line here. Okay, awesome. So Enat said content-only books. Cedric says concerning the content-only books, our VA would have to wait 24 hours to get the transcription of the videos. How to manage that in the work schedule? Okay, Cedric, no waiting. What we're doing right now, right? What we're doing right now is actually putting this together from day one. So all of our ordering here is going to take place at one particular point in time. So what your virtual assistant does is that you're going to block some time off for that person to go ahead and do exactly what they did with the other videos. But in this case, they are not actually the ones transcribing it. What they are doing is that they're making sure that they go through a few lines, at least 100 words, I would probably say, in a transcription, and they're going to test it on Copyscape. And if it passes Copyscape with those 100 lines, then they provide you with the actual MP4 by downloading it, and then they'll throw it up through Transcribe Team, right? And then within 24 hours, Transcribe Team will send everything back. So it's never ever going to be something that you're going to only order one at a time. You're going to order all four. The content is going to be prepared and ready and raring for you to go. And so when they're creating the content, they're going to go through that particular content, chop it up the right way, and make sure they put it in whatever format they need to put in. One of the key things that we trained everybody on was their ability to make sure they put their own content into chapters and titles, right? And that was very, very important. In this case, you're giving them other people's content to put in chapters and titles. So it's their level of assessment to be able to pick out what this says and what this means and what this does and what that says. And their ability to be able to do that. And then give it back to you in a saleable format with a cover, in print version and every version that you can think of, including enhanced, and even once you guys get the hang of it in terms of Andromo, to be able to work with the apps as well. So that's very, very, very important, right? And that book itself is going to cost you $60 to acquire that content. It doesn't matter if you have 10 different videos that need to come up to that amount. That's just it's going to be, it is what it is, right? Because it's just going to be 40 minutes or 50 minutes in its entirety. And at 40 or 50 minutes in its entirety, it's going to be $40 or $50. And it can deliver combined all together. It can deliver, 10,000 words. That's what it's all about. And then your staff goes through that, tweaks that, and then puts that together as a content-only thing. Now, eventually, as you can see with what I spend, the majority of my revenue comes from one of a couple of places, articles on TextBroker, right? And the reason why we spend a lot of articles on TextBroker is because we like to get a lot of primer information. And when I say primer information, if we have back content or content that we have in a backlist that we want to stack, when we're creating a new book, we'll create a 1,000-word article that just operates as a preface for that particular book, as an introductory chapter. And we'll make sure that is brand new. If we have a book that's currently published out there, we can actually go and say, okay, well, here's what we want to do. We want Amazon to email everybody about our existing books. So we just create 30% more content and throw it in the book and then say, hey, Amazon, we updated our content. Can you let everyone know? Right? And definitely it can work. And that's my basic, 2 cents there. Okay. So, right. So Cedric says the new work schedule sheet is really more handy than the previous one. Well done to the Speedy Mastermind team. And again, well done to Enat, because that's what I believe at the end of the day, if we're talking about, is something happening here? Okay. Strange. Okay. Right. So if we're talking about this particular spreadsheet, again, we always say together everyone achieves more. Um, it's based on a team, and just the same way, Cedric, that you were able to recommend Juto and to get that 20% discount organized from Juto without even anything happening, that was absolutely brilliant. And that software is absolutely brilliant in terms of being able to save us tons of money. And then on the front end, again, to save us tons of money. That was absolutely brilliant. So again, as I said before, together everyone achieves more. And we're all in the publishing game, and we're all in a game to win. So that's what we're here to do. And that really worked out great. Okay. And so Enid says she just sent me an updated version that where you can choose your content type from a list instead of, okay, so you made it drop down. Here's my concern, Enid. The reason why I had copied it from the original one that you had was that when these things go into like Google Docs, they don't perform very well. So they kind of fall apart. So we have to be kind of really, 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 really careful in terms of how that pans out. The actual MS Word document might not look the same way in the Google Docs. So we've got to be very, very careful of that. So that's one of the things that you want to look out for. And normally I want to try and test it so that, you know, everyone in terms of the virtual assistant is on the same page, because he's got to populate it. Because if he's not populating it, then, you know, it's an easier way for us to be able to track it. Okay. So the video which video blocks cannot do. Okay. So everyone, we were talking about, I was speaking to Casey, and I was kind of letting him know that this was something that we were looking on as a specific method of creating video content. So there is something known as helpouts.google.com, I think it is, or typically something known as Google Helpouts. So if no one has heard about Google Helpouts, there is something known as Google Helpouts that people are trying to earn money from left, right, and center. So if I was to go into fitness and nutrition in order to acquire video content, right? I can go ahead and reach out to anyone who is in this. So if I wanted to get, let's say, let me try something arbitrary. Bear making. Is there anything on bear making here? Okay, barbecue like a pit master. Not so sure about that. Let's try, well, I'm not seeing anything bear making. We've got horse training. Let's see, we had creative confidence. Let's try poker. Okay, Warren Marr. Okay, so clearly we're probably no gambling. So I guess we're going to have to go down to fitness and nutrition. So let's go here, let's say Paleo. So we've got Paleo Diet Coach, Beginner's Guide to Lean Eating, $45 for 30 minutes though, which is going to be like 5,000 words, which is 6 as one, half dozen the other, if you just let the person ramble on. Special diets. So let's say here, it's cooking school, relationship between what you eat, blah, blah, blah. So clearly that might not work. Transforming your body, Paleo Diet Coach. So let's try and see what Kelly's actually saying here. So we can schedule for 30 minutes for Kelly to ramble on about, you know, and here's what she said. She gave me some awesome tips about my diet. So helpful. So if I wanted to go ahead and book Kelly, I could probably put together all the chapters in a book that I wanted to. And I could email, when I schedule her later, I could say, Kelly, here are all my questions that I really need to have answered. And if there's anything else that you can tell me about the Paleo diet that lasts me, of course, 30 minutes, please go ahead and let me know. And then I'll sit there and allow her to just keep on talking, because guess what? I'm paying for this advice. And I'd say to her, okay, well, I've got the advice, and I'll take that, and I can tweak it if I wanted to, and I can go ahead and publish it. And that would be the basis of it. So in essence, there are many, many different ways that you can source that content. And I don't consider this black hat because, in my opinion, I still believe that at the end of the day, I'm still able to acquire content in any way or form that I can, right? Because I don't think that there are any stipulations that say, well, guess what, you can't record and you can't use. I'm not seeing if there are any kind of stipulations here, and I've asked, and I've been told that there are none. And that is based on the person who is the helper, and of course you, right? So again, that's something that provides a perfect opportunity, especially when you're coming across a difficult topic. So if we have anything in terms of games-wise or anything like that you want to get some really good content on, it's good to get the questions first and then pose them to that particular person and then get that information at the same time and then transcribe that data and then, you know, move forward. So it's pretty much like doing an interview, right, with someone who's an expert, and then taking that content and then just creating it. But it's literally an expert on demand, right? So that's one of the ways that you would be able to utilize, you know, Google Helpouts in order to get your content, which is what Casey and I were discussing the other day. Okay, awesome. So Enet sent that to us. How many videos per enhanced ebooks? What's the cost of videos per book via this new method? It depends, because you're talking about the video itself. If you're shooting that particular video with that person, because the person would actually be, they can show you their screen, or they can actually appear on the screen and talk to you directly, right? And you have the option of being able to record that, right? It depends on how long you want to make it. The bigger your video is, the larger your download file is going to be. Again, I never ever recommend your files exceeding 20 megabytes in total. It would just be crazy, because it would just take too long to download as a Kindle book or as an Apple iBook Store book. So I wouldn't do that. Yes, Ina, I'm going to do that because I know it's getting really, really late. Yeah, I appreciate that. So let's look on very, very quickly. Need help for diverse topic which video blocks cannot. Got you, Casey. Casey's asking about different diverse topics for the videos. Let's go ahead and head over to Amazon in terms of needing to do what is known as your your PDF and your cover upload. So the key thing here is that to sign up for this, there's a little link that you go to, put in your information, tell them who you are. Within probably about 2 to 3 days, you're going to be given an Amazon Services Vendor Tools account. This Vendor Tools account is going to allow you to be able to add your Look Inside feature, right? So what you basically want to do is that you want to go ahead and click on PDF and cover, right? And you select this particular link here, right? Now, the naming conventions are the key thing here, right? So for the naming conventions, you don't have to put the actual information. All you've got to do is put your ISBN, because this is for your print books. You put your ISBN and then you put .pdf, right? So once you do that, you put your ISBN and you put your .pdf, right? So for this, where we have ISBN, if we're doing a zip file, we'd have that. The front cover .jpeg is, for us when we're doing that, it's fc.jpg, right? So we're putting up, if we wanted the front cover to be flipped around and we want a person to be able to flip and see the back cover, we do that. If we have something going on in terms of the spine and we wanted to put information on the spine where the person can actually change it to see the spine, they can do that. Now, if we're uploading multiple files, they allow us to upload multiple files, and we've got to name those particular files, right? And it's extremely simple. And they'll tell you it needs to be a minimum 150 DPI for all images, and you have to embed all the fonts, right? And all you do here is that you choose your files, and you submit. End of discussions. If you're putting the zipped file, then you want to make sure that you follow all the naming conventions. So let's look on an example. If I am doing my existing book here, which is, of course, Jana Duncan, which is a reprint. So I'll go Jana Duncan here, and I'll go workout routines, and I'll grab this here. And we can see no look inside feature. So in a day or two, when we've uploaded this information, the look inside feature will appear, right? And that's very critical at the end of the day to help with sales, right? So as your book gets listed, your book will, of course, start to do a little bit better. We're selling more on places like Books A Million than on Amazon for specific keywords, which is amazing. Very, very strange. And companies such as BroadArt, who we're currently in negotiations with right now to expand our distribution. So that basically, I think, covers how you actually look on PDF cover uploads and Search Inside. The link will be on that page and in the email. Tina did make a slight mistake the last time by actually emailing everyone, which she wasn't supposed to email everyone who were Team Leader 2s. She was only supposed to email Team Leader 1s. And part of that will not happen again. The information that's coming out in this email is going to be very, very sensitive with that updated spreadsheet. And I wanted everyone, again, to understand this is not the end of it, as in the end of the Mastermind program. We're in it to make sure that you're producing what you need to produce. Now, if you think in your mind and say, well, will I be able to do all of this? The case in point here is that count the number of books that you're creating and then look on the average cost, right? That's typically what you want to kind of look on. And it seems that our spreadsheets have gone bonkers. Have no idea why that is. I'll go ahead and let's see if we can close out some of these spreadsheets here. Okay. I think test submission reports. Very weird. Let's just close out Excel. Period. Yeah. I think that was actually it. Extremely weird. Close all windows. Well, it won't close. I'm totally astounded as to why that's happening. But in any event, the case in point here is that that's what you're basically doing. If you look on your spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet that you're going to have, you're going to see the number of books that you can create. Because the only day that you're creating, you're not going to be able to create 2 books is on Friday. And on the Friday, you're creating a massive number of books. If you wanted to do this on a Monday, then you can do it on a Monday too. If you wanted to do it on a Wednesday, it's just up to you what you choose to do, right? And what you prefer to do and how you want to set it up. But if you're talking about you're creating 8 books every single week, and you have a 9th book which is content rich, right? And you think about the fact that each one of these books can bring you, let's say, $50, just for argument's sake. Every single book can bring you $50 on a monthly basis, right? You're talking about 10 books, 40, let's say 40 books, 40 books over a period of a month, or 9 4 is 36. So if you wanted to get down to the, as we would say, the nitty-gritty, we can look on an exact figure, and we can say 36 multiplied by 50. Comes down to 1,800 bucks, right? Now, if you're doing this and you're replicating this every single month, understand what I'm saying to you. This is replicating it every single month. So in January, you're pushing your books out there, and the goal is to make sure that you have $1,800. You multiply this in February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December, right? And you multiply that by 12. this is what you're looking forward to as a particular bit of income. No, everyone actually knows that whatever we're doing, we always discount our revenue projections. And we discount our revenue projections by as much as 60% at times, right? As much as 60%. So if we've discounted that, right, by as much as 60%, and I was to say to you, okay, we still are paying just about $800 or $900 a month. And we wanted to multiply $900 a month by 12, because that's what you're basically paying on a monthly basis, right? You're going to end up paying $10,800 on the year, right? If we were to go ahead and say, I'm not sure why my thing has frozen, Excel has frozen, but I definitely do want it to be up, so I'm going to just go here. I'm going to end the task. Extremely weird. There you go. All right, and let's just open Excel again. So the key here is that I want to look for recovered. And here we go. There we go. So the key here is that at the end of the day, if we're talking about reprints, zero content books, and we're spending this figure, right? So we're spending this figure here. Let's look on our P&L, right? So at beforehand, we had 0 for Textbroker. We had 240 or 250 for transcriptions. We had just about 100 bucks for 123RF. We had 20 for Copyscape. And of course, we didn't do anything on BookBub. And we did about 50 bucks on Riffle, right? So we had about 420 bucks. And we, of course, weren't paying ourselves anything just yet. And we were paying $450, right, to our staff. So we were doing $870 per month, right? So we're going to say, clear this, we're going to say $870 multiplied by 12. So on the year, our overall expenditure would be about $10,440, right? Now, during that time, we're going to be creating X number of books, right? So we have 2 reprints. Now, 2 reprints are basically, again, going to be 2 formats. So it's reprint, it's a book, as well as it's an audiobook, right? You don't want to put it in digital, really. I'm not saying that reprints cannot go in digital to some retail platforms. It's just not advisable, and it's not a strategy to try and single out a retail platform and say, okay, this one will let us in, and that one will let us in, and oh, that one will let us, because that's not mass marketing, right? So that's not mass marketing, so we won't be doing that. So we just go ahead with print, and we go ahead with audio, right? So we're talking about here where we're getting 2 books, so 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9 books, right? So we're talking about 4 weeks in a year or 52 weeks in a year. We're not going to work all 52 weeks because we're going to take some time off. So let's say the person works relatively, I would probably say about 40 weeks of the entire year, right? So for 40 weeks for the entire year, we can go ahead and calculate that and say for 40 weeks for the entire year, and we're just going to do the math plain and simple. 40 weeks for the entire year, we're doing 9 books per week, right? We now know that we have 360 publications, right? 360 publications. Those 360 publications we know can generate up to about $50 every single month, right? So we're looking on just about $18,000 every single month. That's our target. It's $50 per book. Now, for your regular books, clearly can make more than that because you're putting it on in every single format, and every single book that you have is keyword rich and keyword driven. That's the main thing that you want to remember. If they're not keyword rich and keyword driven, it's not going to work. It has to be keyword rich and keyword driven. Don't come up with a name that says Bing Bong Boom or Boom Bong Bing, because nobody's searching for Boom Bong Bing, right? So then you will never be found. And then you're going to have to try and spend the money to get Boom Bong Bing to be popular. You want to make sure that your title is Fitness Journal, right? Or your title is something that someone is looking for or someone is willing to buy, right? there are other strategies that we can employ, right? And Speedy Publishing talks about that, like things like tagging. Don't step back and then as a team leader one, you're saying, okay, well, it's now Easy Street, and I'm going to put my feet up and my hands at the back of my head, and I'm going to relax and take in, the breeze. The reality here is that you want to focus in on growing your business because your business has to succeed. So all the strategies that you see here are important. You're talking about the new distribution channels, different tactics that you can employ to make sure that your content is selling the way how it's supposed to sell. That's your task, and you structure that to spend an hour per day on your task, right? Are sales going the way how they're supposed to be going? No, they're not. If they're not, what are the underperforming books? Can I tag this book by buying it with another really popular book? So I'll spend 10 or 15 bucks, but I spend that 10 or 15 bucks. So it's interim spending, right? It's interim spending, but at the end of the day, you're looking to make sure that you turn a profit. And that's the key thing. When will it ever become a time when you're going to have to say, okay, well, look, and not have to, but you feel it and say, okay, I think this book is a really great book. I'm going to put it on BookBub. And you put it on BookBub, and you end up getting 5,000 sales at $1.99, right? And you spent only $100 or $400 or $500. So you made a profit of like $4,000 just by putting that book out on BookBub, right? And that's the way how the cookie crumbles. Now, if you're going to slash, because we normally slash these by 60%, right? So we're going to multiply this, and we're going to find out exactly, what would we be getting if we were to get 40% of this here. So I'm going to say we're slashing this. So we're talking about a return of $7,200, right, with those 360 books. Now, here's the key thing for me here. If I was to start making this at the end of year one, right, and having spent $10,000, and at the end of year one in January 2015, I make $7,200, and I'm going to make $7,200 every single month for the entire period of January 15, that makes very good sense to me. And that's really the way how the business is supposed to work. And so I'm trying to kind of point out to everyone, this is the way how you do it. That's the way how you make money with publishing online. That's the way how it works. Whenever anybody tells you the next best thing or the next bright shiny object, it's all well and good, but it's a system and a process that you put into place. You make sure that you're turning out the products that you're going to be able to sell. And then when you're turning out these products that you're going to be able to sell, which are incidentally your books, this is what, at the end of the day, you have to sit and manage. And why is this very important? Because when the time comes for you to have what is known as an exit strategy, you're going to be able to exit this business. Because at that particular point in time, of the 360 books that you might actually have, the majority of them, because you're only doing 2, so 80 of the 360 are going to be reprints, but the rest of them are going to be actually your content, and you're going to own them, and they're going to have value. So if someone says to you, hey, listen, I'll give you a 30-time multiple, or I'll give you a 40-time multiple for your existing business, right? And they'll come to you with that discussion, and they'll say to you, hey, listen, I want to do that. And you can say to them, okay, well, buy me out for, $300,000. And you make that offer to them. And they want to buy it out. They're not going to buy you out if you're only reprints. That's the case in point. They're not going to do that, right? And people always say, calling reprints and reprints. They're not going to buy you out if you're only reprints. It's not going to happen. If you have unique content, whether that's in a zero content book, a crossword puzzle, whatever it is, a pamphlet, whatever, this is content that you hold the copyright for. It's your book, right? The zero content book, the reprints are not something that you basically hold the copyright for, right? And that's the truth of the matter. And so you want to make sure that you work with this particular scenario here, that you don't fall into that problem or that trap. And once you get to that point where you can generate, safely, I would say 5 figures per month. Once you get to that point, once you're doing that, then you can look to other types of investments, what other people are talking about, things like Apptopia, where Tess Suchoff would say, okay, well, if she said to me, Colin, if you buy $1,000 worth of apps, give us $1,000 more, and we'll process everything for you, and we'll put it. That $2,000. Am I going to say to Tess, okay, Tess, here's $2,000 or here's $2,000. We're all good to go with that. Blah blah blah. No, I'm going to say, look, here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to do it for me, and let me see exactly how it works, and let me see exactly how I'm going to make money from it. Right? I've got to test it. I've got to see it work. Right? I've got to see it work first. And then when it works, then I can move and say, okay, well, let me start to invest in that. But those types of investment decisions will come, again, as you as a team leader want. Right? But the objective is, when you look on Speedy Publishing from the top down, we have so many different other people or employees who are a part of the business. And with all of them being a part of the system and a part of the business, they all play a particular role. Everyone plays a particular role. And at that particular stage, we generate revenue from every single person. Every single person generates revenue for the business. That's the way how we structure it. So when your team leader 1 now gets to the point where he or she is creating, 9 books every single week, you might say, you know what? I want to definitely look on all of my existing coloring books. I think coloring books, I can probably dominate the market. I'm going to put out a Dickens load of coloring books, right? Or you might say, do you know what I need to do right now? I think I have, probably enough content that I can probably start creating a book per day with a couple thousand words. And then you would take probably $1,000 from your earnings, and you would go over to YouTube, and you would transcribe a lot of stuff, or you would either go on something like TextBroker and mix and match, or you would purchase some of the content from YouTube in terms of a transcription, and some of the content from TextBroker, and some of the content you would have in your own library. And you would put it out there. And you would be able to hire on another person who would be able to create one single content-rich book per day on a very good niche. And at the end of a year, you would be looking on quite a number of books, right? Close to 200 different books that are all rich niche books on top of what you currently have. And you can use your team leader 1 now to manage that person who is there creating the content for you, and that person reports to your team leader 1. And that's, again, how that downline happens in terms of you going to be able to grow the business and expand it from the inside out to continue to earn more. So that's critical to the steps that you want to take in order to be able to earn more. Okay. So let's jump back on our questions. So I know there have to be a lot of questions. Okay. Ina is asking, are you going to speak about the book Look Inside? We just did, Ina. You mentioned that in order to add the book, the Look Inside feature, we have to upload the book directly to BNN, Amazon, etc. Does that mean that we can't distribute the book through Speedy Publishing in those channels? No. If you distribute the book with Speedy Publishing through that channel, even if you go with Ingram directly, which is the only way I think you should really and truly go, unless you're a vendor of record with Barnes & Noble, which we are, and of course we can actually go ahead and upload the information. The point here is that we've chosen Amazon. The Barnes & Noble side of it is a little bit easier. All you're basically doing is that you're just sending information to them. For Baker and Taylor, it's a little bit the same. You just upload the content directly to them. But again, sometimes Baker and Taylor doesn't really need a lot of look inside things for people to buy. They'll just buy. And the majority of that revenue will come through, of course, Speedy Publishing, and as it goes out through Ingram. So that's one of the key things that you want to also remember. The reason why you want to be a vendor of record is just to be able to edit your own books on their platform. That's really what it is. And it's the same thing with Amazon here. Because if that wasn't the case, I wouldn't be in the Amazon Seller Central side of the world at all. Okay. Right. So you mentioned you don't upload to, so Ina is asking, you mentioned we can't upload the book to Crates. That's a reprint. So how should we do that? Who will fulfill the orders from Amazon Seller Central? Amazon Seller Central has nothing at all to do in terms of you uploading the book there. As you can see, it's only just the interior which provides the look inside. That's all that it is. It's really nothing else. That Seller Central link is going to be in the email that you're going to get. So what you do is that you just click it and then sign up, tell them the name of your publishing company, whoever you want to be, whatever you want to name it, and then go ahead. You don't have to give them an example of a book. Just tell them who you are. They'll set you up. You're good to go. You find your ISBNs. You put your ISBN stuff in there. You upload what you want to appear for your particular book, and then bam, and then that's it. And then you're good to go. And game over. That's basically where it's at, where it's going to be at right there. Simple, straightforward, and very, very easy. Okay. Okay. The reason why with Amy, the reason why we go with Google Drive is the ability that we can actually see it. I'll give you an example. So if I was to go to Google Drive, and I still should be logged in. Right, here you go. So I can basically go ahead and look on, let's say, I wouldn't say books to be audited. I'll go ahead and look on, let's say, zero content book creations. Okay, this is what Suzette would have done for me on that side. Right, so in a situation like this, as you can see, you have zero content books in Spanish, zero content books in French, zero content books. So pretty much what happens here is that I can actually see whoever is viewing this particular spreadsheet now and whoever is actually working on this particular spreadsheet now, right? Let's go zero content books. No, I was just here. Let's find it. And it's really and truly just a fear of people actually knowing that you are paying attention to what is going on. I'm looking for, and it seems that Suzette is very, 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 very active. So is Lillian. So I'm trying to find where exactly Speedy Publishing membership setup. No, Speedy Publishing content books. Let's try that one. Right. So pretty much this was for November. I'm looking for. Here we go. So we've got December here. So as you can see, it's based on a month-over-month thing, which is put up here. So this is, in this instance, I can actually see, if you see here, last edit was made 20 hours ago by Suzette MacPhail, right? And I can see, so someone can actually edit it in the live. So I don't have to call Suzette. I can actually come here and I can see what's going on, right? So I know what exactly is ready, what exactly is live, what exactly is ready to be published, right? So I know at the end of the day what's going on, right? And I don't have to do anything else after that. And we can go forward very, very quickly, right? I can also see what's going on where this is concerned, right? So what's being created here. Very interesting, though, I'm telling you. That's so weird. I didn't know about that. I didn't know that we did have a coloring book of dogs, coloring books, coloring pages for kids. As you can see, these are all keyword-rich terms, dredging the keyword-rich term. And, of course, it's populated again by Suzette in terms of what's going on here. So photo album for baby boy, photo album for baby girl. The key here is that I don't need, as a top-level manager, I can come here once a week, and I really just need to see that people are actively working on it and where it's going to be, because they have to update their spreadsheet. If the spreadsheet is not updated, then we're going to have a very big problem. and someone needs to explain to me why it's not updated, right? So like for this instance here, I'll give Suzette a let off and I'll give Natalie a let off because for creating their Spanish and German stuff for this month, Nerves played a lot of, it took Suzette days to get ready for that webinar, and I mean days literally, of nerves and not being able to get a hold of herself and just being just very, very afraid to talk. And again, if you can see here, guys, this is what, and it's so funny sometimes when people are, I'm running a webinar and these things pop up. Work is going on in the back end, right? And that's where you're going to be. And it took me just about a year. Lloyd basically knows from almost literally from day one, you know, months after, you know, me getting to where I am, you know, at a point when I met Lloyd, and Lloyd's awesome, awesome Jamaican by birth too. That's how I got to this point, and it just grew, and it just grew. And even with Speedy Publishing as a membership website and doing everything that I've done, people will ask, why do you sell it for such a low price, and why do you do that? Because it keeps me on the cutting edge. There's nothing that I am not aware of in the market. Well, I'm not say that, but I'm just saying I try not to be not aware of in the market because it grows the business. And as a result of that, I can tell everyone, look, this is what is working. This is what is not working. This is what you can use to make money, and this is what you can use not to make money. But having to make sure that I keep on the ball keeps my business active and keeps my business flowing and allows me to take advantage of a lot of the other stuff. In the Mastermind program, you're getting exactly what I'm getting. So in this instance here, your spreadsheet, Amy, will look a little bit different because you're going to be able to, of course, have February, and then you'll have, you'll have March, and then you'll have April as different tabs. And you'll be able to go through that. So in essence, once it's up here on Google Drive, only you and your VA will have access to it. No one else would have access to it. And they can edit it, and you can edit it. So if you wanted to change and you said, damn it, I don't like, this topic for the end of the month, and they haven't gotten to it, you can change it and they'll never know. I mean, they'll see that the last change or the last edit was made, but they'll never really know what you even changed, really, though. That's really what, is basically going to happen. So Google Drive allows a lot of that stuff to happen, and it's critical because you can set people up where they can just only view it as well. And that's one of the key things here. So Google Drive, for me, works really, really well. I don't know how to use Dropbox. We have Dropbox for Business, and that's just about what I know about Dropbox, pretty much. Okay. Cedric says, concerning on to the questions. Are we going to speak? Answer that question. Okay, Google Drive. Okay, will we be able to email the video block link? Yes, you are going to. Got it, Lewis says. Can I do a reprint for the first week only initially? Yeah, for sure, right? For sure, Lloyd. We can do any number of reprints that we want to, right? Any number of reprints that we want to, we can do. The whole idea here is that we've got to make sure that we build value for our brand and our business. Have to make sure that we do that. That's very important. Okay, Sandra says, our revenues from Speedy Publishing will be delayed by how long? I.e., October sales paid in February, a 3-month lag. No. Okay, so if you earn, if whatever you earn in November, you have, if December, then January, and then you're paid in February. So it's really literally a 60-day time period, right? For Lightning Source pays 90 days net. CreateSpace might pay 60 days net. I think Google pays almost instantly, which is so weird. Overdrive pays 90 days net. I think Barnes & Noble, 90 days net. 3M Cloud, Flipkart, all these guys pay at a different pace, right? So a lot of them pay at a different pace. Not everybody pays at the same pace, right? But what comes in, if it comes in early, it goes out early. So for us, it's a FIFO method, so it's first in, first out, right? And we can track because we track everything based on the ISBN. So when a sales report comes in, we look on that sales report and we calculate the sales report and we put it out there. When you get your actual payment, it won't be less, it will have to be more, right? Because it can be a case where there are sales that took place in a particular time period that were paid for upfront or paid for earlier, right? That we didn't actually see or didn't actually realize. But most of the retailers, we never ever get overages from them. So if it comes on a sales report, even if it's being paid for earlier, then, I mean, whoopee. But that's basically it. So it's really about 30 days in the back. I would say 90 days, but what's earned in November is paid in February. And then what's earned in December is paid in the first week in March. And we have to give it, like when we say the first week, we know between the first 5 days or 6 days of the month is when whatever is being paid to us will hit our account. We don't need to do any calculations. We already know what comes in as a direct payment from all of our retailers, right? We will then be able at that particular point in time to just disperse. So once we know what it is, we'll go ahead and disperse, right? So that's pretty much where we're at. I still do believe at some particular point in time that we will be able to move back to the 30-day, and I'll tell you why. Because it's really our retail partners that really forced us to do this. They made it mandatory to us because what it means that their affiliation with us meant that when we say we're affiliated with them, we can say truthfully that we haven't received anything from them, which might cast them in a negative light, which they're not willing to really work with. So they said, look, you need to move to to something that is standard in the industry, right? In fact, in their opinion, we should be giving everybody 25% of the net because that's standard in the industry too. But I don't know how that works. But that's pretty much what they would like. Not going to happen. Okay. Okay, how do we get the new spreadsheet? It's going to be emailed tonight, Sandro. We have a problem with what's going on with GoToWebinar. When we're recording with GoToWebinar, it has this strange codec. And the guys who we asked to kind of convert it for us, they're basically helping us to convert it. We converted our initial video. We have that video to do the upload, which is the extension that you asked about. The one for last night, we converted it twice on our own, and it failed both times miserably. The guy took it today, and he converted it, and he said, Colin, it's fine. And I told him we were doing this one tonight, so he says just give him a ring. He's in Australia. Steve, by the way, so he's going to be able to just go ahead and convert it so we have it in a proper MP4 format so that it looks good when we post it and it doesn't sound choppy. So yeah, we're sending that out tonight. Once we're done, I'm sending it over to Steve immediately so that he can handle it. The link to Judo software is, Mike, it's not really Judo software. It's Juto. Cedric is French. So Cedric can probably pronounce it a lot better, but I have no idea what the pronunciation is supposed to be. But it's French though. I can just tell you that it sounds French, right? Okay. I get a video at the end of the talk in Google Help Out. Really though, I don't know. I think you actually have to record the video. The two that I did, Casey. And I'll follow up with Lillian because she was the one who really field tested the strategy, and she used Screencast-O-Matic to record what she was recording, right? And then got it transcribed. Because with Screencast-O-Matic you can record, and then you can just go ahead and download the MP4, and then we send it over to the transcribe team, and they were able to do it. So we were able to pay, I think at the time we paid $40 for whatever the topic was that she went into. And she was able to get $45, and she was able to get a whole ton load of information, right? A whole ton load of it. I think almost like 9,000 words. And she had field tested it when it had originally come out, so that really worked for us. Okay. Okay, so should we let Kelly know what we're doing with the content? Who actually is Kelly? Oh, you mean the young lady who? Okay. So if Kelly was giving us the information, it depends. It depends. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, when you're, it's a slippery slope sometimes, but really and truly, someone can't, kind of, if you're interviewing them, you can ask them that question and you can say, okay, well, I'm really doing this because I want to use the content for, a book that I want to create. So I want to ask you a couple of questions, during the research process, and I might use the information that you give me as part of the book, and I can attribute it to you. It depends. I don't think that that person would have any objection to it, but it does open up a can of worms at the end of the day. Sometimes it's better that nobody just knows, period. If you tweak the content correctly, I mean, there's no way that if you put word to in every other word, kind of, just for instance, does it make it, the person's content? When is it the person's content? Because it's their idea. I don't know. It's a very, very slippery slope. For me, I don't look on it in that particular manner because the content that I'm taking, I am changing it around significantly. It's like an image. If I get an image and I tweak it, do all kind of things to it, and then flip it around and then do all kind of things to it, can I claim the copyright to it? Because of the significant changes I would have made to it, yes. Because of the significant changes, I can claim the copyright to the book itself and the production itself. Right? So there are several different ways you can look on it. And it's not that simple. And I realize that in terms of copyright law, right now, we have a product that we're creating right now that, just it's a headache to go through what is known as a trademark secret and the different things that you're asked to produce and things that you're going to be required to do. So in terms of doing stuff like that, unless the person goes through the process of doing it or registering it, it doesn't really matter. And I know you might be thinking, well, Colin, that doesn't sound right. Well, does it sound right that you would be able to use the term eat to live, or you would be able to use the term paleo diet for beginners when Amazon was shutting people down, saying, hey, listen, you can't use the term paleo diet, and somebody had to shoot Amazon out of the sky. Gigantic company like Amazon there, though, right? With millions and millions of dollars that they should be paying people to kind of look out for stuff like that. They didn't even look out for stuff like that. And they killed other people's books, including one of mine, and had to come back and reinstate the book because I was right. Because there's no way that you could give the word paleo diet was not copyrighted, right? And they couldn't hold it as a trademark. So the person had to let it go. And at the end of the day, that's what really happened. And I remember Daryl Ruff coming to me and saying, Colin, they might. And I said, no, they can't. Never ever assume. You've got to know, right? Never ever assume. You've got to know as a fact. If that is stipulated on the Google Hangouts website, that you cannot use the content to do anything else, right? Then the Google website can, sue you, right? That they're the ones who would have to come after you because you've breached a contract with them, so to speak. If you've entered into a contract with that person, that's a totally different thing. And is Google getting in the middle of that? I think not. Because if Google says that anything that's said that it happens between you and that person in the Hangout, if that person gives somebody the advice and that person goes and kills themselves, what happens to Google? Google might be seen as a facilitator of suicide, which can cost them billions. Now, if the fact of the matter is that if they word their contract in such a way that they kind of escape it, literally, they're escaping it for you too. And that's pretty much the way how it goes. So, I mean, again, I'll try and get the right legal opinion on the matter based on fact and contracts that exist in terms of acquiring that content. Okay. Could we have a special training to recap the steps to promote well or books? Yes, we can, Cedric. Cedric is asking about promoting the books. Yes, we can have special training to recap that. The real idea here is, like I said to you before, It's all about BookBub. It's all about being able to do that. It if you decide to do one book a month, then BookBub is a no-brainer. If you decide to do 50 books a month, then keyword strong titles and BookBub and Riffle, go Goodreads and Facebook, no-brainer. And when you're doing stuff like that, you have to just look on the cost-benefit analysis of everything. Facebook is really just to have Facebook, right? It's really what it is. I mean, it's really and truly that's really what it is, right? You have to attack the people who if you've been in internet marketing for a long time, you hear people say the money's in the list, the money's in the list. Well, the money's in the list, the list of people who want to buy your book. That's the truth. The people who are excited about books that have to do with horror and stuff like that. The people who saw that werewolf head and wanted to run, or because if I saw that in real life, I would run. There are people who would be fascinated by it and want to touch it, right? But I wouldn't be one of those people. But there are people who would want to do that. And those are the people who will buy your books. That's the truth. So you want to make sure that you approach your marketing strategy in a way that will grow your business and keep your business growing, right? For far too long, most of us who were in publishing create a book, and then we create the book and we say, all right, we're doing books and we got to get some marketing going, and we get stunted because we're saying, how do we get the marketing going? Okay, well, I'm going to do it for free. I'm going to pulse it, and then I'm going to get a couple of downloads, and then I'm going to see the sales rise, but then it's not rising fast enough, and then I'm going to have to pulse it again, and then I'm putting it out for free again. Okay, what's going to happen? Then let me go ahead and do the print version, and we struggle along. All during this time, the vultures, who are the other people, are coming into the market, and they're swamping and killing the market, right? They're swamping and killing the market. And then we're left on the periphery, struggling just to try and put 1 or 2 or 3, 4 books out there, and we're dying with with prices and costs. Not anymore. That won't happen. We spend $800 to $1,000 every single month, and we put out an excessive number of books, and we continue to earn. That's how it works going forward. That's the way, and that's the play that we have right now, right? So that's what we're looking forward to do. That's the key. And we keep doing what we're doing and making sure that we can generate. And ideally, our real target is always $100 per book. That's the real target. It's always the real target because that's what you aim for. And people will say you aim for the stars and you fall to the sky. You aim for the sky and you'll never get off the ground. But I think, $50 is the fair amount for us to have in the back of our head in terms of in the direction that we're going. And that's really where we're at with this. But the real aim that I aim after is $100 per book every single month. And that's per title. And I know exactly that I create hundreds of titles every single month. Okay, so let's go on. Enid said, I understand it now. Awesome. Right, so Lewis says, I'm unclear about the pricing with SpeedyCo. How do I determine my pricing? For example, create space, I'm given a print cost. So then I can determine my profit and suggested price. Okay, if you price your book in Speedy Publishing at $5, Lewis, right? Then you know that you're going to get 50% of that $5 at $2.50, right? For every print version of your book that sells, that is exactly the return that you're going to get. $2.50. That's basically it. Now, Ingram have asked us to stop doing that, which I don't know why we need to stop doing it. They're saying that it throws out a lot of things in terms of tiered pricing or different pricing or so on. And I said, look, it has worked for us tremendously well, and it will continue to work for us. They've asked us to allow our readers or allow our subscribers to be able to add in a print cost, right? Now, here's the thing about that. Adding in a print cost means that we have to use what is known as the adapter to be able to track the price. So we're going to have to be able to add a little formula that tells you exactly what Ingram is going to charge, right? Now, the key here is that Ingram charges things like handling costs, handling fees, when there's a wholesale order of your particular book, right? And this is the case in point here. So we have to be very, very careful about what it is that we're doing. The main price is that we're pricing a unit, Lewis. So we're saying if we sell 5 books, 5 audiobooks, and we sell 5 print and we sell 5 digital, our return on every single unit is going to be $2.50. That's exactly what it's going to be, and it's not going to change, right? And we will be good after that. Nothing else will change, right? So that's really what we do. So we price the unit, we price the content, and it doesn't matter to me what format it's going to take. So when I go into an app, apps are probably the only thing that I might make the concession for, which when you go into the system now, when you submit your app to Speedy Publishing, you're not going to see the price that's going to be, that's going to affect your book price. It's going to be an app price. And app prices are typically at 99 cents. Those are the prices that sell really well, right? And you split that with Amazon, and you split that with Google Play. So that's typically the main thing. Okay. Lloyd says, how do you feel about selling pamphlets on Amazon physical products? You can, Lloyd. Again, you can. All you've got to do is just order it from us. So once you have the ISBN, if you get an order from Amazon, either you call it in, or you can go on the Speedy Bookstore and make sure that your pamphlet is on the Speedy Bookstore, and then just order it and then put in the address of the person. Right? And then it will be shipped there. But you will have to handle that fulfillment side in any event. But you can do it if you wanted to be able to add like additional images to it as well. And then you can add it as a pamphlet, right? You can do that either which way. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to still, it's mandatory for us to push it into Ingram and their catalog. So it's going to get everywhere too. It doesn't matter. Right? We can't help that. So for instance, if I was to look on Books A Million, for instance, and I was to look for Reflexology Speedy, we were to look for Reflexology Speedy, Ology Speedy, see, there you go. So no matter what we do, the content, it's going to be out there, and as I said before, it's going to be as a paperback. The key thing here is that they typically don't have, well, Books A Million really doesn't have like a look inside feature, right? But the key here is, as you can see, it's 4 pages, and this is basically what it looks like. So we can look on wherever this goes. And the thing is that Ingram doesn't push to Books A Million. Baker and Taylor pushes to Books A Million. Right? So we know that this book appears with Baker and Taylor. And it's the same thing, I think, with whatever is in Baker and Taylor. Whatever is in Barnes & Noble is literally all Baker and Taylor. Like, they don't even check anything as long as it's in Baker and Taylor. They'll just get it, or they'll just have it. Right? So we can look for Reflexology Speedy here. It's the same thing. Right? So typically, once you put out your pamphlet, it's going to go out there. There's nothing that you can actually do about that. Right? There's nothing that you can actually do about that. When we decide to do it in this particular way, we're looking on Reflexology, right? We can put either Speedy Study Guide here, or we can put pamphlet. So when people are searching for things like pamphlets, it will identify it as a pamphlet, right? But people aren't always just looking for pamphlets. They're just looking for the content, right? That's pretty much what they're doing. And they're just looking for the main content. But you can do it if you would like to. I mean, to me, at the end of the day, it's just another layer that I don't want. But if you can add it, Lloyd, successfully, and you can be able to drive a little bit more sales with it. Hands down, definitely yes. If you can get your team leader one to be able to monitor it so it doesn't infringe on you, so you're not really creating a layer of work for you, then hell yes. I definitely agree to do it because it means more sales. Okay, so, I think it would have to be Skype at a point in time. The problem is that I think what you're seeing here is actually like, this is for Binders Publishing LLC. I think I'll go ahead and put this in the group here just so everybody can see it, because I'm on like 3 different Skypes almost at the same time. So sometimes Binders Publishing LLC is one of the very first companies that I actually created as a publishing company, and sold it, years after. So that's typically one of the things that we had actually done before. So that would be, Sandra, if you go ahead and add me and you ping me, I might show up as very weird. I'm always on Do Not Disturb, but I'm showing here now live. Very interesting. Okay, so if I show here that was very weird though. There was this guy called Media that just appeared. I don't know. Here's Max. Max is on Skype with me here. Tina. There's this guy, Media. Camera is gone. I think we're closed for the day. Okay, so that's pretty much where, if you ping me on that one, I'll be on the Speedy Publishing. But I realize what has been happening with Speedy Publishing is that people have been, this guy here, I don't know who this guy is. People have been pinging us constantly about work, that they're EPUB converters and that they do SEO and all kinds of things. I don't know where they found it, the word Speedy Publishing, but they are like all over us like white on rice, and they will not stop. So I think Speedy Publishing is fine. If I have a meeting, I'll jump on it to really and truly speak with someone. If not, go ahead and add me to Binders Publishing, because it's a lot easier to kind of reach out to me at that time, I think. And that's where most of the staff and the team, as you can see, are all on. So that one works a little bit better, Sandra. And please don't share that with anybody. I'm begging you, don't share it with anybody outside of the mastermind group. Okay. Yes, Trollo. Yes, you can. You can record as a Hangout for free. You can record it. If you can record the Hangout, yes, you can. And it's something that I believe at the end of the day, you can't really know exactly. We've got to get it down to a science. We can't assume. We've got to know exactly what it is that we can and what it is that we cannot do. Got it. Can I add the video verbatim to the enhanced book? I would. With the person's face, then that's a totally different thing. If you're using a person's image or likeness, 2 different things. 2 different things. 2 different things. 2 different things. That would be very, very difficult. That would be pretty difficult to do. If you understand what I'm saying to you, that would be pretty difficult to do. If we're gonna that with a person's likeness, unless the person consents to it, then yes. Then no. I would have to definitely get the consent of the person at that time to do it. I had to come into work to cover for some. Okay. So I've been able to Snow Skype, which is why I don't have Skype. Don't we last night about getting. Right. Okay, so Kim is just asking about her setup. Kim, get a hold of Tino. Tina should have set you up last night. I'm almost sure of it. Okay. Excellent. So Trottle is chiming in, and Trottle is saying copyright only protects the form of the content, not the content as such. Agreed. And the reason why that is the case, and I specifically remember a man, there being an incident out on the road, someone, here we go. Oh, okay. Aha. Right. Hi, Amy. Okay. Right. So the case in point here is that it projects um, it protects if you're walking right. I think someone said that if you're doing something on the phone, right? If you're doing something on, if you do something when you take an image of someone doing something, right? That image that you've taken or video that you've taken now belongs to you. It doesn't belong to anybody else, right? You can do what you want to do with that video. Whoever you've recorded, right? That video recording is yours. That's your copyright. You can do what you want to do with it. And so someone has to license it from you in order to use it, right? And that's pretty much, as far as I remember, in terms of the scenario. So if you take it secretly of somebody, again, if the person is put in that position willingly, and there's just some extenuating circumstances to it, but I would definitely have to seek legal guidance on it, and I am going to do that because I definitely do want to know. I definitely do want to know, for sure. I definitely do want to know. But thanks a lot for that, Trottle. Do you want to talk via phone after the survey? Kim, I would probably say during the day tomorrow would be ideal. Yes, it is, Michael. It's Jutoh. Brilliant. Facebook is not a buyer's platform. It's a social platform, which is true, Michael. Here's the point about Facebook. Facebook is something that you do to create an audience, and I understand fully the concept of Facebook. But the key here is that you've got to herd the readers in one spot. Do you see what BookBub is doing? BookBub is really what is called herding. They're herding everybody in one spot. That's what they're doing. So they have everyone in a mailing list, but every mailing list is literally something that's remote. A mailing list is really something that is, you know, an address for everybody. So you've got an address book, right? So let's say you're holding a party, right? And you want to get people in. You want to hold a really big party, right? And it's a paid party. You want them to pay $10 to get into this party. You want to make some money, right? And you've got the emails of all these people, and you've got the addresses of all these people, and you email them, you text them, and everything. Some of them are going to come. Some of them are not going to come, right? But if you email them constantly and tell them, hey, listen, go on this Facebook page and see what was going on at this party, you get to herd all these people in your Facebook page. So by herding them there, right, in that particular community, when they see your email, that's when they're going to be more responsive. So it's still a part of the marketing process, but you've got to herd them together, right? Herd them together like cats, literally, and try and see that you can get the most out of them, right? If you go to Digital Book World, here's the weirdest thing. People are saying that they're making so much money on Twitter, right? Because the social media is just the herd where you can put them all together. You bring them all together, and then you kind of prime them for the big party. So that's really and truly what we're talking about at the end of the day. Okay. Oh, yes, you will also get the WordPress plugin, which is a social media plugin that creates the press release. And, of course, at the end of the day, you can ask for your marketing files. The marketing link is basically, I can give you a pretty good example. Go here. I can go ahead and select the marketing. I can probably go here. It's pretty much what you're going to do here. Like for this, I'll download the Excel report, or I'll download the marketing report. So this will be available on your platform. And as you can see, this is something that looks totally different from what you saw the other day. But that is like the total back end of Speedy Publishing. What you saw is what you're going to use on the front end. The back end is going to look way, way different from that too. It's just constant improvements going on in Speedy Publishing. So the key here is, Michael, is that you're going to get that plugin, but you've got to get that report easily, because it's the report that you're going to be able to just download that report from your title manager in Speedy Publishing. You download it, and then you upload it to the plugin, and then you'll be able to just get everything that you need to get from it. So you'll be able to get your asset files, you'll be able to get your marketing report, and you'll be able to start putting out your press releases, be able to auto-populate your Google AdWords ads, and be able to auto-populate your Facebook sections. So that's really and truly where it's going to be at. Key thing that we're talking about there. Okay. Casey says, I want to convert all my books into enhanced books, so need to know the clear step for this. Google Help Out as an option. I will need cash and the time of my VA. So you're basically asking, Casey, if it really makes sense that, you know, ROI-wise. The reality here is that it can be something that is ROI-wise. It can be very, very important ROI-wise. And for me, when I'm looking on all of my books to go back in enhanced books, I'm looking on not just the fact that I would do that for every book, because that's the first assessment that you have to do. If you look on every single book that you have, right, will this particular book fit well with an enhanced book, right, with a video book? Will it? That's the question you have to ask yourself, right? So in an instance like, if you look on that young lady there, the young lady who is very, very popular in terms of cooking shows and all of that kind of stuff. I think her name is, it's not Sarah Stewart. I'll tell you in a minute. But she has some of the best books that are on enhanced videos. And really and truly what it is, just her shows, right? Martha Stewart. And Martha Stewart just has those shows in an ebook format with the recipes below them. That's all it is, right? But they're massive, right? They're almost a gig-like massive, right? Like 20, 30 megabytes. The point I'm making here in an instance like this is that you have to look on, does your book fit the profile for an enhanced book? That's what you have to look on. So if we're putting out an enhanced book, I mean, for the heck of it, if you're doing a book on poker strategy, I think that it fits an enhanced book. In terms of horse training, you want to throw in a couple of horses running. Yes, that also helps at the end of the day. There is no doubt in this, right? But if you're doing a book that's on something totally obscure, it won't work, right? And then it doesn't make sense that having done that you're going to go back and reinvest in something that you know that is not a really, really great niche for that. The time would be better spent putting out new additional content that would probably fit within that particular, role or region. And that's my 2 cents on that particular issue. Okay. So Emmy's asking, okay, I have a book on KDP and Barnes & Noble priced at $2.99. Let's say I'm making $2 commission on each sale. I will make more in commission in Speedy Publishing by putting my book price at $10. Okay. Right. Okay. I've got to think about in terms of if you've got a book and you're making $2 per sale, right, on each sale. If you'll make more in commission and Speedy Publishing by putting in the book priced at $10, immediately what will happen is that your book will be sold for $5 if you're pricing it at $10, right? So it will be $5, right? It will be $5. So really and truly, it will just be the case where you're going to get $5, so you're getting it more, because it's not that we're taking $5 from it. It's that the retailer is getting the book for $5, right? So that's, if you think about it, what you're doing is that you're wholesaling your book. So you're saying, listen, you can take 1 million copies of my book on consignment and sell them for whatever you want. You just need to pay me $5 for every single one that is sold. So then Amazon will say, okay, well, I'll sell the book for $6 and I'll make $1. And Barnes & Noble will say, well, damn it, I'm going to sell it for, $5. Just to give you an example, if you look on this particular page here, this is a pamphlet, and it's $8, right? Now, you can buy it from other people at $4.69. Let's look on the same book, right? Let's look on the very same book at Amazon.com. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the ISBN, right? And I'm going to go over to Amazon.com and I'm going to plug it in. No, this is why people hate Amazon. Because this is the price that Amazon is selling the book for, $7.20, right? That's what they're selling it for. They have cut the price dramatically, right? So they've taken 10% off of the price. So we've already given them that particular suggested retail price. They're selling it at 10% off when Barnes & Noble and Books A Million is not selling it at the suggested retail price. So they shave that off from day one. See what I'm saying? So for them, it doesn't really matter to us because we priced our book at suggested retail price at $4. The cost to print the book or print it as it is about $2. So we price it at $8. We know that we're going to get $4 as a suggested retail price. We're getting $4, and more importantly, less that $4, we know that there's a printing price of $2. So we're getting anywhere between $1.80, $1.90 per sale. But that is the way of the business, right? That is the nature of the beast. That is the nature of the beast. And of that, if we were doing something like that, then we would get about 15 or 18 cents, close to 20 cents in terms of our commission from Speedy Publishing, right? So it depends on how you're pricing your stuff, which is why when we're saying price your content, there is no way that you can try and price your content in a way that keeps you, how do we put it, quote unquote, constantly competitive. You've got to price your content based on what you have in your budget. That's what you've got to look on, right? You've got to look on it from that particular perspective. If not, then it's going to be a serious problem, right? You've got to look on it from that perspective. What are you spending? What are you earning? That will make all the difference. No, don't do it. I'm not sure what that means, Mike. Okay, I will check with Tina. Great, Kim. On 123RF, they require a model release to use someone's face. Okay, here's the case in point, right? When people are saying that you require a model release, we came across this problem just a couple of weeks ago, right? And we wanted to see exactly what was going on. I have no idea who these people are. Okay, right. So we have come across that problem before, Elizabeth, and what we basically did was that we said, look, if you're looking on 123RFs, their overall concepts or their overall policies, they will try and change the policy around and around and around, right? I'm going to give you the name of the person to email who is going to help you to solve that problem. And I'm going to put that out to everyone, right? So his name is Nick Hansen. And when we partnered with Nick and 123RF, we started out when Nick was just, I think, an ordinary account manager. Now Nick is the regional manager for North America and I think South America. So it's good to know people when they get promoted. So Nick, and I explained this to him before, and he knows that we're starting off with the Speedy Publishing in terms of our mastermind program, and we're kicking it off very, very slowly. So for North America and South America, so I'm going to go ahead and I think I can probably go ahead. I think it's Nick at 123RF. And what I'll basically do is I'm going to send it to everybody, but that's the name of Nick Hansen. If you have any concerns about copyright that comes in from 123RF, he is the man. We recently got raked over the coals by Amazon when Amazon wanted to pull down some of our books. And this is not for Speedy Publishing. This is for something totally different. Amazon came and said, hey, listen, we need to remove some of these books because we're getting complaints that from someone that this is shedding us in a poor light, or the person in a poor light. And I just made it clear. I said, look, here's my agreement, right? Figure it out, and we're not going to deal with this. And then when the person said that they would contact 123RF and get back to me, 3 weeks passed and they didn't. And I explained to Amazon, I said, look, we have a contract with you. You need to uphold your end of the bargain. Are you saying that the first person who shakes out of the tree that you're willing to close my account when I'm not in breach of copyright? And they restored all the books, right? And made sure that the books were good to go. And I said I need to get it on record that this won't happen to me again and that I hold the copyright, and I provided them with written information from 123RF at the time when it did happen. So you've got to be very, very proactive and very, very aggressive in protecting your revenue. That's what your job is as a team leader. Because if you don't, then your team leader too won't have a job. It's not a cool thing. Okay. Do we need to develop a list and keep email to them? No, I don't do. No, Trottle, you don't have to do that. That's what we're doing here at Speedy Publishing. That's our plan, and that's basically what we're working on right now, which is what I just read it is all about. So that allows us to continue to push that constantly. So no need to do a mailing list. Okay. So Amy's asking, Colin, I'm trying to compare not marketing a book on KDP myself and putting the book through Speedy Publishing distribution to be put on Amazon's platform. Okay. All right. Here's the thing with that. There are two schools of thought. If you publish with us, it's a lot easier because you get to everywhere in one location, right? There's no doubt in that. B, you can price your book at different rates. If you want to get your book to rank, we already know the process of someone downloading your book using the keyword term. That still works. Pick up the phone, call Cheryl. Cheryl, I need my book to be 1 cent on Amazon. That's all you've got to do, right? We can specifically target Amazon and make your book 1 cent on Amazon. We can do that, right? So when we put your book to be 1 cent, it doesn't have to be 1 cent forever. It can be 1 cent, and then you can send 10 of your friends to download the book using the niche tool or what is known as a search string query to get your book to rank for any keyword you want to rank for, right? And then you call and then you say, bump me up to $1.99 or $2.99. For digital, that's not difficult. It's very, very easy, right? So the key here is that you can do that on your own across the board. That's not something that's very, very hard, right? On Amazon, right? But you're talking about other platforms as well. So like Google, and we've been testing that on Google, don't worry, to see if something like that works, but it doesn't right now. So unfortunately, there's no way to game Google, of course, king of the search engine algorithms, would probably not, allow themselves to be tricked in that way. But the key here is that if you're with us, Amy, there are a lot of things that we are doing right now that help to market books, right? And help to push your book in terms of sales. We saw the biggest number of sales in the month of December ever. And I mean ever. And it was not because of the Yuletide season, because we didn't have that many Christmas books. And that's for real. So we know what we're doing in terms of setting up our business in terms of our mass marketing approach is correct, and the process works, right? So there are many things that I can reveal. There's some things that I can't reveal. I'll probably reveal them like in a couple of days when we're closer to launch for like quick words. massive, massive, massive opportunity in terms of marketing, not just for books on a whole. So yeah, so pretty much we can help at the end of the day in terms of marketing and conducting that marketing, but you can do it too. We won't do we won't put your book to 1 cent. We are doing our mass marketing. If you want that book to like blow up, put it at 1 cent and then get it to rank for like 10 different keywords. If I was on the outside looking in to do that, right, that's what I would do. We recently lost our CEO. Our CEO is no longer with us. She's moved on to, I would say, greener pastures. The point is that, you know, at this particular point in time, one of our main objectives was to hire someone who was going to be wholly and solely in charge of sales. We have 2 types of marketing that we do at Speedy Publishing. We have something known as title marketing, and we have something known as regular membership marketing. Title marketing is the most important aspect of our business because it allows us to push our existing books and make sure those books are getting sales. That's typically what is done, and that's what we look for, right? So we look a lot on title marketing, and we wanted to bring in someone who was going to focus only on title marketing. We already have a job description that is listed out, and it's critical and key to their involvement with what we consider our mass marketing approach, right? But we, again, have a specific mandate. We're looking to get 50 sales per book. That's what we're looking for. We don't care whether you have a book on Amazon or whether you have a book anywhere else. If you have your own book in CreateSpace, when we start to market your book, people are going to look for your title or see your title, and then they're going to end up finding it on Amazon. And if it's in your CreateSpace account, they're going to buy it. Does it really matter to us? Because we'd have lost 30 cents? Not really. Because the same system that your books are in is the same system that our books are in. So we're profiting at the same time, and we're really not stretching it across the board in any event. It wouldn't make a difference to do 1,000 books than to do 500 books, right? Because the process, again, is something that we try to automate as much as possible. If we don't automate it, it won't work, because we definitely can't burn the manpower hours to do that. We couldn't afford it. But if we have an automated system that is going to allow us to automatically hit almost every single, app extension out there and show people books or recommendations based on our books only, it's a major, major thing. And that's one of the key things that we're looking on. And there are many, many different ways. If we get in our own mailing list, and our own mailing list are people who are going to be there, and we herd them into our Facebook imprint pages, that's how it basically works. So those are things that we're basically doing that I don't think that you need to actually do. If you do it, then, look on just trying to drive sales, never ever marketing. Marketing is not quantifiable. Sales is quantifiable. Marketing is just not quantifiable. Not in my opinion. Okay. So for 1 cent sales, do people search with keywords on Amazon or Google? You look for it on Amazon. I know some guys who used to search the term on Google that used to bring them to the Amazon sales page. Yes, that is true. But if you have, what I'm saying, Elizabeth, you already know the search string query, right? All you've got to do is search for the term Speedy, let's say not Speedy Publishing, let's say Bear Brewing. Your book is 1 cent. Go in there and tell all your friends to buy a copy of the book in their Amazon account, right? And get them to buy it using the search string query. It's simple, right? It's simple. Just tell them to go here, and they'll go to Kindle Store, right? And they'll look for Bear Brewing, right? They'll look for that. When they find your book, right, in the Kindle Store, they can buy that Kindle edition for 1 cent. And they will keep on buying that Kindle edition for 1 cent over and over and over, right, until the book ranks #1 for Bear Brewing. Okay, Sandra, I am off. I know because I've got to go. I think I don't want to blow up this thing again because it's going to be massive in terms of oh geez. I can see exactly how many gigabytes. Oh, recording in progress. Okay. Yes, I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap up. Um, I'm definitely gonna wrap up now. Anybody have any urgent questions? Again, it's gonna take a couple of minutes for this. When you close GoToWebinar, it takes a while to kind of load, and because we've been at this for like a couple of hours, I know it's gonna take probably about 30 minutes. So if when I get back here, I'm going to be working on this email. The other email is already prepared. So you'll be getting both emails if you want to get them all at once or piece by piece. You can let me know. But again, everyone, let's again get ready for tomorrow. No problem, Val. We will have another meet, which is obviously not going to be this long, which is going to be next week. So we're going to be back here again. Thanks, man. Thanks, Lewis. Thanks, Lewis. We're going to be back here again, guys, next week so that we can kind of cover up on a couple of other things. You'll get the report, so you'll get the opportunity to make sure that we've uploaded everything that we have to upload into our Google Drive. And I meet with your guys over the weekend, which is going to be Monday morning for them. So I really want you guys to work on your listings on Friday morning or Friday during the course of the day. Put out something. If it's even just 1 week. If it's even just 1 week. Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, Lloyd. If it's even just 1 week. Put out just 1 week that we know that we're going to go right into and start firing off all cylinders. Now, I know a couple of you guys have VAs that are kind of running a little bit behind. Don't worry about it, right? Don't worry about it because we're still making sure that they're going to keep focus. And this is just how the nature of the beast is. No problem, Sandra. No problem. No problem. No problem. Okay, guys. All right, Sandra. No more doing the hat dance here. Okay. So I'm gonna end the webinar, everybody. Again, email me if there's anything urgent. I will be here on no problem, Kim. I'll be here on the Binders Publishing one, the Binders Publishing, not LLC. I'll pop open the Speedy Publishing in case anybody doesn't want to add that, and I'll be online on both of them. But I need to make sure that this webinar is processed correctly when I close GoToWebinar. So, okay, everybody, have a really, really great rest of the night. Get some sleep. And tomorrow is a long day. When you wake up, you will check your inbox and you will see all of your forms and the information that you need to have to populate to get it over to your VAs. And take your time. Don't rush it. Just mull over it a bit. Make sure you're choosing what you're choosing wisely. Look on your budgets, first of all, what you intend to spend, and then you can make that decision. If you want to have more content-rich stuff, then it's more content-rich stuff. If it's less content-rich stuff, then it's less content-rich stuff. It's totally up to you. So, okay, guys, everybody, have a really, really great night, and I'm off.